Do.
Don't be pointing at me.
You pointed at me first.
Just don't shoot. Zero tolerance. Get her out of here.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Oxford School Committee of June 10th to order. We have a full audience. I hope that our production staff can show that at home so people will know that people do come to the school committee meeting now and then. So we thank you all for being here tonight. I'm going to start tonight's agenda. It is a very special evening for the school committee, for the community, for our school family, for the town. We have some stellar educators that are going to now take the time to do whatever they want. And they have been with us, the longest is 30 years. So we're looking at some significant time here in the district. And I would like to, if it's all right, Mr. Himmelberger, is call all of them up, and then I will give you the floor. Ruth Bond, come on up. Right here, Ruthie, have a seat, have a seat. 25 years for Mrs. Bond. Barbara Pizzitelli. Nine years over at the middle school. Joyce Diedzik. "16 years as one of our elementary teachers over at Chafee for grades 4 and 2. Mrs. St. Martin. "19 years at both Chafee and Barton, grade 3. Deb Semenik. This is outstanding, Mrs. Semenik, 36 years as an Oxford High math teacher. And Lynn Stevens. Who I think almost everyone in this room knows Mrs. Stevens because at one time or another, our children were one of your children. 30 years as a preschool teacher at both Chafee and Barton. This is one of those nights where the community can be really proud of itself, where you teachers and what you've given of yourselves to our children will always be remembered. I'm going to turn the floor over to our superintendent, and he has a few things to say.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ennis. What I'd like to do for everyone here and for those at home is to say a few words about our honored retirees tonight. And I have a small parting gift from the district to give you as well. And then certainly you are welcome to stay for the next 4 hours, or you're free. I'm sorry. Or you're free. Sorry.
Maybe 2 hours.
2 hours. Or you're free to certainly leave once we are complete. I had to include Ruth Bond because Ruth Bond makes me feel young, well, or sometimes she makes me feel old when she gives me advice on what I need to be doing. And I can always count on Ruth to give me the unvarnished truth about how the district is doing. And for 25 years, we've been very fortunate that Ruth works morning, noon, and night because she works and has worked as a crossing guard in the morning and manages the middle school cafeteria midday, and then she works in EduCare, taking care of all of our children in the afternoon. So I wanted to at least finally get my chance to say that you really are not going to retire. you're really not going to retire because I'm going to put you on as a consultant to the superintendent. So for as long as I'm here, you'll have a consultancy to help me understand how children work in today's environment. So for 25 years, Oxford has been fortunate to have somebody who gives old school an old meaning, but in the very newest way. So Ruth, thank you very much for all of your service. Thank you. Barbara Piscatelli, we are saying goodbye after 9 years at the middle school, reading teacher extraordinaire, and you come to us from other districts, but you've graced us and allowed you to finish out your career with us, and we are thankful for that. We have literacy as a hot topic in this day and age, and we appreciate all of your efforts on behalf of our students at the middle school. And we know that you will be spending your retirement wisely and with family. And they say this often, that no one retires as well as teachers. And I know the reason for that, because of how hard you all work. So we congratulate Barbara on your retirement. Thank you. Next is Joyce Diedzik, who has been a wonderful elementary teacher for 16 years at Joslin and at Chaffey in grade 4 and grade 2. And Joyce always gives me the inside scoop on how I should be doing business with unions. And as a building rep, she has always steered me well into the somewhat intricate world that is unions and administration. She has been a friend to many of the principals that have worked with her, and she has done a terrific job for so many students at Chaffey and at Joslin. And we wish you nothing but the best and hope that you are available to substitute for us at some point, if you want to. So Joyce, thank you very much. We wish you nothing but happiness in your retirement. Thank you. Now the numbers are getting really high. Chris St. Martin, 19 years, grade 3, most of them at Chaffey until this rabble-rousing superintendent forced her to Barton in 2010, and she did it with grace and dignity like she does everything. And over the years, as my daughters enter the world of teaching, and one who teaches grade 3, it gives me a whole new insight into why teachers retire so well. It's because they work so hard around the clock, all the time, to make sure that they communicate and take care of their students. And we have been very fortunate that Chris St. Martin has done all that and more for the past 19 years, and we wish you nothing but the best in your retirement. Lynn Stevens, 30 years, the large majority of that in preschool. And if you've ever, those in the audience or those at home, hosted a birthday party for 3- and 4-year-olds, you do it for an hour or two once every year and you're exhausted. Well, imagine doing that for 6 hours a day, every day for 21 years. And it just speaks to how much effort it takes to be successful with that particular age group. And our teachers throughout their careers have worked on so many other things, and I'm going to go into some of them in a minute, but I just wanted to say thank you very much for educating me into the ways of 3- and 4-year-olds, because I blocked all that out of my head as a parent, obviously. But thank you again for 30 wonderful years. Lynn Stevens. Deb Semenek leaves a huge hole in the faculty the math department at Oxford High School, where she has been for the past 36 years, making sure that our students understand math. And 36 years is indeed a career, but I'm sure Deb would say that it goes by pretty fast when you enjoy what you do. And it is amazing to me as I look back and see what happened in Oxford long before I got here. In the early part of this century, and in the 90s, and in the 80s, and in the 70s, and to piece together that history from all of you is really a project that I think would be wonderful for us to do sometime, is to gather the folks that have retired over the last several years and get their impressions of the profession, of the district, of the community, the changes, and what has stayed the same. And so I think that that is something that I would like to do. So we wish you well. Our NEASC reports will not be the same, as Deb has certainly managed that arduous task very well. And for anyone who touches NEASC, we know it's an arduous task. So thank you very much, Deb Semenik. As long as I have the floor, I just wanted to speak to what our retirees have all done over the course of their careers here. And I thought it very appropriate, and I warned Chris that I would say this. In her recollection of her career, which she sent to me, she said, "There are so many things throughout the years that I've done that seem similar. None are remarkable, although I am proud to have been a part of each one." And if that doesn't sum up what all of you have done to maintain the integrity of teaching and learning in this district, then I don't know if anyone could say it any better. From TOAST, which was the Oxford Academic Support Team under Dan Iverson, Dimensions of Learning Summer Training, Science Curriculum, Chafee Building-Based Support Team, School Advisory Council, the accreditation process for preschool, the Chafee Playground Committee. The list just keeps on going of all of that you all have done. And I know that there's not much I can say to enrich the time that you have given us, but I hope that the memories of these past several decades will carry you through with some fond smiles and remembrances of all of the lives that you have touched over the past several years. So I want to give each one of you a small token from the district, but I also want to give you a long and rousing applause. Thank you all.
I didn't do it.
Bruce Bond, please stand up.
Why don't you go over here?
He's so cute. Be good, will you? There goes the camera. You are so cute. Be careful, my camera's at home on the break.
Yes. These are family too, family. But these retirees are here.
Okay. You sure about that? I didn't break it. Go ahead.
They need them on this table.
I know. Go ahead.
Jeez.
Joyce.
Oh, I thought mine was better. You don't want the table. That's nice. Thank you. Must be all the same thing. You know what?
I know what. I will.
Then they'll call me. When you go to
Yeah, well,
Bless you. You're welcome.
yeah, me too. Yeah, don't even bother.
They don't want me back. Do we have an executive session tonight?
No,
You would think for that field trip to, or free day, huh?
not everybody's here.
It was nice in the morning, but at least we got to get out. Probably fooling around in the back.
Well, wait till we get to that.
Isn't that what we do at elementary school?
Yeah, we'll have it.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I may, we have one more recognition, and that is for our student representative, Zach Trombley. And he's a graduate of Oxford.
Thank you.
You're free to leave tonight, not until June 18th. You're free to leave now. Thank you all very much.
Hold on, before you go, that's okay, Ruthie can go. Are there any comments from the committee? Mr. Coonan?
hooray!
Very well put, Mrs. Walker. And again, congratulations, illustrious careers, just trying to figure the math, and it's way too much. Just think of the impact that you've had in this community, of the family, the friends, of all the people that went, the kids that you had, the students you had, just wonderful. Congratulations.
35 years.
135 years, I hear, that's great. Unfortunately, my children had not had any of you there. Oh, Mrs. Bond in the playground. Yes, in church, I'll see you in church, ma'am.
That's right.
Well, that's all it is. It's really a thank you. Wonderful being educated myself. I'm a little envious out there where it goes next, but very good.
Thank you, Mr. Coonan. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy your summers.
Enjoy the rest of our lives.
That's right.
Important.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have the approval of our meeting minutes of June 3rd.
Motion to approve?
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. What's the matter? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4 in the affirmative and 1 absent. Next, I am going to go out of order to my committee. I'm going to, we have a special request this evening for the Oxford High Booster Club. And we have some of our Booster Club members here that are representing the Booster Club. And I'd like them all to come forward, if they could have a seat at the table. I'd like to say, Mr. Superintendent, this group of ladies here that we have this evening are some of the nearest and dearest to my heart in the community. I know these women personally. I work with them on the Booster Club, and you could not find a more thoughtful group. We have a very good time making popcorn and serving pizza and passing out sodas and water and all of those things, but we're here with some news that we hope does not come to fruition. The Booster Club is in somewhat of jeopardy, and I think Mrs. Delaquila is going to be the speaker this evening. In our heart of hearts, we do not want to lose this organization. This organization provides equipment, scholarships, service scholarships, funds all kinds of trips to organizations within the high school. We may be having a great time, but we work very hard also. We have money to raise, we have supporters to rally. So I am going to ask each one of the ladies, starting with Mrs. Sharaffa, if they would just introduce themselves down the line, and then Mrs. Delaquila, you will have the floor and you'll be able to speak
Thank you.
from your heart, is the best way I can put it. Go ahead, Lori.
Hi, I'm Lori Shraffa. My daughter Caitlin plays field hockey, and she will be a senior in the fall. And I'm hoping that the Booster Club stays in action because I have a middle schooler, sixth grader, who will also benefit from the Booster Club.
Hi, I'm Kim Canoyer. My daughter Alexandria is a sophomore, and my son William is a freshman this year. Alexandria is actually a hopeful volleyball player if we can get that off the ground within the next couple of years. And my son William plays baseball and golf. And I also hope the Booster Club can stay because in addition to just those few sports, the Booster Club supports just about every program in the high school. So a lot of kids would miss out on a lot of opportunities if the Booster Club left.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Lisa Delaquila, and next year I will have a senior, a sophomore, and a daughter in 8th grade at the middle school. They play field hockey. My son played football as a freshman. He plays baseball for the town, and I will speak further in a few moments.
My name is Jean Kirby. I have 2 boys in the Oxford High School. One is currently a junior, and he plays golf. I have another student that is a freshman who plays golf as well. My son, who is a junior, is currently trying to get a bowling club started up for the winter this fall, so hopefully we can get that started. And again, I would like to keep the Booster Club in place.
Hi, my name is Liz Mikula, and I have a senior next year who plays field hockey for the school, and I would hate for the Booster Club to be dissolved. So hopefully we can work together and something, we can all work together on this.
Hi, my name is Kim Greenwich. My daughter is an up-and-coming senior. She plays field hockey, but she also is involved in Best Buddies, who profit from the Booster Club also.
Good job. Mrs. Delaquila, go ahead, you have the floor.
Thank you, Brenda. Okay, so we're here tonight to talk about the Oxford High School Booster Club. We did have a meeting last week where it was our final meeting of the year, and we had to form a board for the next year, and that did not happen. We had a total of 10 people in attendance. 3 of them were board members, and 2 were newcomers, which was great to see new faces. However, we haven't seen anyone as far as any teachers or any coaches or anyone other than the few parents that attend. So that's why we're here this evening, to just talk to you, to have people at home hear us, and just stress the fact that we're here. We are not just a sporting community. It extends to Best Buddies. We receive funding requests from Best Buddies, from the band, from Student Council to go on their trips to the Cape each year. And we really, really, really just, we need the support of the school, of the teachers, of the coaches. We had homecoming, which is one of our biggest times of year, and we spoke with, or Chris Bird, who is our president, she couldn't be here this evening. Her daughter just graduated. She spoke with Mr. Deldorian, and he spoke with all the coaches to try and rally and get parents to help, and we received 2 responses back from all of the coaches. So we're looking back to the school for help in communicating to the parents, to start with the coaches and then have it travel down to the parents, to the students, because how many times have we heard, oh, well, I didn't hear about that. I didn't know about that meeting. I didn't know that we were doing this. I didn't know we had a fundraiser coming up. So that is another piece to talk about too. Is there a way that the school committee, the school could help us in getting the communication out there, whether it's through the all-call system. I don't know if that's something we could use for the Booster Club to talk about upcoming meetings, as well as the student liaison. If at all the school committee meetings, you could speak about the events that are coming up that we're trying to raise funds for, that we need help for. So as it is, if, since we did not form a board, we will have a meeting in July. But just to let you know, if the board dissolves, then what happens is there will be no more Booster Club. We will not have any concession stands. The student council would not be able to request funds. Best Buddies, we do a basketball tournament for Best Buddies, and all the money that the concession stand makes, we give to the Best Buddies Club, excuse me. So if this doesn't happen, if the Booster Club goes away, we have $10,000 left in the account. That money will then have to go into a separate account, which will then be used for scholarships and awards over the next couple years until it's gone, and then that will be it. So then, what does that mean? That means that the cost of sporting events, or to play sports alone, will go up, because we're paying, a reasonable fee right now. We just purchased new, I believe it's basketball uniforms for next year for the school. Things like that wouldn't be able to happen. So we're here to again, just talk to anyone that's listening. We need the support of the school, and we need the support of the parents to help us, so our Booster Club does not go away. And just to stress that it is more than just a sports club. It's for all different clubs in the school. So we're here. Any suggestions?
Thank you, Mrs. Delaquila. I'd just like to add that July 11th, Mr. Superintendent, we do have a meeting. We've scheduled it for the central office. I think we said 6?
Yes.
Okay. For 6 o'clock, we would like our athletic director, you, of course, Mr. Wells, and coaches. We desperately need to communicate with coaches. So it's, as we had said, it's these requests come in, but now one of the thoughts is when a coach has a request, they should present to us so that we can fully understand what the money is for. But also those coaches should tap other parents and say to them, we've got, this group here. I think we're all women. I think we only have one,
The
right?
treasurer.
And then some husbands will come in and grill because that's their thing and they like to do that. So I think that we need to expand not only our communication base, but also our membership. I know that we have great ideas for fundraisers and we want these things to come to fruition, but they're not going to come to fruition if we can't have the support of our coaches. And we desperately need that. So we are looking to you for your leadership to bring them in. And hopefully on that July 11th meeting, we'll have more concrete answers. And I think that's what we'll be looking for. And hopefully we'll be having a new board, won't we, ladies? So, Mr. Superintendent, if you would like to add any comment?
Sure, I'd be happy to. A couple of thoughts that come to mind. What you all are experiencing is not a surprise and not unrelated to a lot of things that happen, not just in our district, but in a lot of districts where there is less participation, both from students in a wide variety of extracurricular, as well as parents. And part of our district improvement plan is to find ways to reach out to the community and perhaps new venues. My less than good feelings about Facebook are well known. However, when parents tell me that it's too much work to find the website, but if I could give them something from a school Facebook, a district Facebook account that automatically populates into their email, well, that's a far better way for me to communicate. So I'm old, but I'm not that old, and I'm thinking that if that's where people are, that's maybe how we're going to have to reach folks. I think that it is certainly a challenge that many groups face, not just the Booster Club. But I think your point is a good one, Mrs. Delaquila, that it's not just athletics that the Booster Club supports. It supports a wide variety of activities at the high school to provide enrichments where our budget cannot go. And so I think it dovetails very well with what we are trying to do over the summer and into the fall to reach out to the community, to educate them about the need for the needs that we have as a district. Certainly, we talked about digital conversion and what that will mean. And the feedback we got from that was that I haven't overused the all-call system. And that is a preferred way to get information. And while I wouldn't want to put, reminders and mundane things on there, certainly that is an option that we have. Obviously, some groups do use the all-call. Mr. Trahan is kind enough to lend us his radio voice for several of those announcements via the all-call system. That is certainly one way. We will have to look at a Facebook account. We will have to find other ways to reach out to the community to get them to know our schools, to love our schools, to support our schools. And I think that that is broadly what we want to do here with certainly all the good works that the Booster Club has done over the years. It would be a shame to lose that. And I think that where there's a will, there's a way. And I believe that that is certainly a part of our district improvement plan, to reach out to families who are, let's face it, we all know how busy we are and how our students sometimes may or may not catch what we want them to do because everyone is moving so fast in so many directions. But I think that there is avenues available for us to try and find new ways to reach people and to get folks to understand that it's a part of supporting your community as well as your own students. And so I will look forward to Thursday, July 6th.
11.
Thursday, July
Right?
11th.
Is it 11? Yeah.
Thursday, July 11th.
at 6.
6, okay.
In the central office.
And we'll see if
upstairs.
we can do some outreach prior to that meeting. So we'll be in touch, and I'm sure, Mrs. Ennis, you can get me contact information.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Very good. Well, thank you all for taking time to come in and let us know.
Thank you for your time.
And we will continue on, right? We will persevere. While I have the floor for the Booster Club, if there's anyone that would like to make a comment, feel free. No? Okay. Thanks, ladies, very much for coming in. Continuing on, we have our kindergarten entrance age district policy. Is Mr. Yvonne still here? No, he left. I had a question for him, but that's okay. Go ahead, Mr. Himmelberger.
Well, as the committee has been trying to come to a way to make this fair and equitable, I would only offer the caution that I had given you before, and that is that no matter what the date, there's always going to be folks who just miss it. And I think when you look at changing something as ironclad as that date, there obviously has to be a lot of tight language to support that. And if the intent is to make it on an exception basis, that is one thing. However, there's a reason why only one of the area districts has wording that would allow folks to entertain that and have it brought before a committee. Because it's one of the few things that really school districts need to know and families need to know what that date is. So could the committee certainly come up with language that would allow for folks to be considered? Absolutely. Yeah, I think the Dudley Charlton language is pretty good in that it allows for letters from pediatricians, and the building principal has the final say based upon class size, based upon the social, emotional, cognitive needs of the student, of the child, along with recommendations from teachers. So it is certainly not an easy decision for the committee, but I do feel that given the number of cases would be relatively few each year, that, and the fact that it could be controlled based upon availability, space availability, and with the appropriate documentation, and allowing the principal then to make the final decision based upon the committee's recommendation. That is certainly one way to approach it.
Well, a thought kept coming into my mind, and then I started to do a little bit of research. When Mr. Coonan said last meeting that the pediatrician, you know, when you look at around at different, it doesn't even have to be in the Commonwealth, it could be different states. The pediatrician is key. It really is. It's key. And you had brought that point up, and after thinking about it, you know, it really is key. I personally like this policy. I think that this is a policy we can live with. The only maybe change or addition is I would want it to reference our class size. I would want it to state that we are not going to make seats. We're not, you know, no matter how gifted or ready the child is, I don't want us to be put in that position that we need to create a seat. I don't think that that would be right, because then you're getting hit on the other end. You know, the teacher is getting an extra student or two. So I like the policy. I'm very happy with it, with the way it's written. Of course, change it to our, all of our information on it. And that's the only thing I have to say on it. Mr. Himmelberger?
If it is the wish of the committee to move forward, then we can certainly draw up the language. I can get it to the committee for their reference and analysis for a vote at the next meeting on the 24th.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for the superintendent? Mr. Coonan?
I'll just reiterate my point. The key point I made last week, yes, I did speak about the pediatrician, to show that this policy is one that is put in place to foster children's education, that it's not a convenient way for a family to get their child there early because of daycare situations. Remember in Oxford, we have full-day kindergarten, and if the child is ready with a pediatrician approval, I think that's wonderful, because I don't want to hold any child back. With that being said, I brought it up last week, and in terms of class size, trying to keep class size at a manageable number, is that I would not want to see, and this is where the principal sign-off would be, to approach that 90% capacity. Is that we start getting over that, you have a family moves in with 2 or 3 kindergarten-age children, next thing you know, we're over
Right.
capacity. So as long as there is a cap, so
Yeah.
we're servicing the children that are ready first, and we're not going above and beyond now, and to increase class size where we don't have to. Again, with a manageable number, so. Let's kind of reiterate what I said last week and go on record again with the same points.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. If you could bring that back to us on the 24th with all of the language that we've requested, and we can look at it one more time.
With the anticipation of a vote to approve or not on the 24th.
I would say so, yes,
Okay?
definitely, yep,
We'll have
definitely.
it for you then.
Oh, very good, thank you. Under our new business, we have the high school improvement plan, handbook, and reading list. Mr. Wells, Mr. Nugent? And Ms. Nugent, I didn't know you were coming up, but welcome.
That's
Over
okay,
here.
and Mr. Doldorian, our Dean of Students as well.
Very good. Come on up. It's nice to see all the nice faces from the high school, all together.
Nice to be seen, thank you.
It is nice to be seen. Mr.
Thank-
Wells, the floor is yours.
Thank you for inviting us. What I would like to do, if you would please, is to review our summer reading list. I will turn that over in a second to Ms. Nugent, who's here representing the English department. All of our teachers in the English department did a substantial amount of research into other school districts and what they do and what they use. Of course, as we're driven these days, as we head towards the Common Core and our state standards, that has also been a part of our decision. In the past, there's been a plethora of choices for students, and at this point in time, we think it's best that we go to a limited selection that our teachers have read and can give some viable, valuable feedback. So, Ms. Nugent.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. On the summer reading list, what you have, the proposal for the summer reading list is the first page. And you'll see that there are 2 options per grade level. And then behind that is there's a rationale, and then the Common Core state standards, which apply to this new proposal that we would like to see put into place. And so the entire English department met, like Mr. Wells said, over the course of many meetings, not just department meetings, but meetings outside of that, to research different districts. And so we looked at West Boylston, Algonquin, Shrewsbury, Wachusett. I have family in New York, so I looked at different places in New York to see what their summer reading lists look like. And while we have a lot of options, something that was across all teachers in our department was that there's absolutely no way that myself as an English teacher, even though I love to read, could read all of those options. And so then how do I really know if the student is getting out of that text what I want them to get out of it? Given the fact that the Common Core standards are now asking that we create common assessments so that they're sure that what I'm teaching in my classroom and what another teacher is teaching in their classroom, it kind of the kids come away with the same knowledge. It's difficult. We know it's difficult to create common assessments with 100 different book options. And so as we're moving towards the Common Core with the requirement of common assessments, we're also asking our students to think more critically. One of the things that we want to do is create lifelong learners in the Oxford Public Schools. And if you can have meaningful conversations with the student about a text, especially something that they will enjoy, which the texts that have been chosen are books that I've read them all and they're all enjoyable given the grade level. If you're able to have meaningful conversations, it's that much more impactful. And if you take a look at the list, you'll see that there are fiction and nonfiction texts. And that's something that, in terms of the Common Core state standards, students are now being asked to look at literature. And so that's your everyday, Hemingway or Faulkner or Shakespeare, but they're also being asked to look at informational text. And that's something that would be a nonfiction text or something having to do with science or math. But overall, we feel like the books we chose will create dialogue amongst the students because they're all aiming towards an issue or whether it's world issues or whether it's student-based issues that the students will actually find meaningful, as opposed to picking the same book off the list year after year, taking a test that doesn't really have too much of an impact on them and then forgetting about what they read, which we have found is kind of what happens. If we want this to be a meaningful task for them to complete over the summer, if they're going to spend their time over the summer, we want them to then come to class and actually be able to discuss it and see how it connects to the world and it connects to them. And we believe that what we chose, the students will be able to do that.
Very good, thank you.
Are there any questions?
Just one. Are they easily accessible? They at the libraries or online? Or?
They are. The Library Media Center specialist, so Dina Karen, is also working with a system called Follett, where you can purchase books online, and students are able to then access them at the public library or at home on a Kindle or on a computer. And so even if the library doesn't have 100 copies of a text, they are accessible in other ways as well.
Do you know if it's accessible on the Nook?
I don't have a Nook, but I know that many of these texts would be accessible on the Nook,
Okay.
and a Kindle, and all of the
You've got the Nook,
different
okay.
e-readers.
All right. Okay, any other questions? Very good, thank you. Do we need a
Thank you.
motion? No,
you don't
we
have
don't
to
approve.
You can
no.
certainly accept, but
Yeah, okay. I didn't think so.
All right, what would you like to do next, sir?
I would like to jump to the student handbook, the other pamphlet inside the back of your presentation booklet, if you will, tonight. We do have some handbook changes. Thus, I did ask Mr. Doldorian, who his primary focus as Dean of Students, is to work with discipline and our in-school suspension coordinator. If you notice within the pamphlets that you have, the yellow are the changes. So we did, right from the get-go, as you look, it's actually listed as page 17, and page 16 and 17. 16, we just a simple dress code addition that would give us a little bit more flexibility, and that's that brief or revealing clothing is not acceptable. A minor change, it's something that will be more effective for us. The dance guidelines, we haven't had a dance guideline policy, so I met with, monthly I meet with the Southern Worcester County League principals. I did ask them for feedback and did also get additional school districts. We put together a little bit of this and a little bit of that to what we think will be the best dance guideline policy. And that's pretty self-explanatory. If anyone has any questions, I would like to try to answer those as we go along. I know that you've probably had time to do some pleasure reading over the course of the last several days. All set with that? Okay, very good. If you turn to what would be considered page 50, there's two new additions. Well, actually, one new addition. One was an addendum to this year's policy, but at the top right-hand side, immunizations, physical exams, and medication is something given to me by Elaine Ziemba, who oversees all nurses in the district. Essentially, this is coded by law, so that's the only difference in the change there, something that is mandatory and has to be printed. And just below that is the fragrance-free policy at Oxford High School. And just to touch base on that, I think next year, right from the beginning of the year, as we address each and every class, it will be out there more so than we did this year because we adopted it halfway through the year. Again, it's something that is exceptionally difficult. We do the best that we can. I've found that the majority of the times that there are any issues whatsoever is with students that are passing between classes. So one of the problems that we have in terms of manpower is that we ask teachers to remain in the hallways of their classrooms, but there are hallways, for example, near the gymnasium, and actually this hallway here with a self-contained classroom, that there aren't teachers outside, the library media center side, upstairs on the side overlooking the gym. So I don't think that the kids recently have done it maliciously. I think they do it after they get out of gym, but we'll continue to try to reiterate that it's something that's unacceptable because of the physical ailments that can be brought upon very suddenly to some of our students. Questions? Okay.
Go ahead.
On the very last page, as we really kind of started a maiden voyage with a full-time instructional aide in our, or the equivalent of an instructional aide in our in-school suspension room. We completed our first year. Essentially, we've had bumps along the way, and one of the things that we're finding is that even though our tardy policy, I believe wholeheartedly in terms of consistency of students being placed in school suspension, has decreased the number of tardies, we find that there are repeat offenders that continuously end up in school suspension. And it was actually the recommendation of Mr. Doldorian. So at this time, I'll turn it over to you, John, just to explain the change of going to periods 3 and beyond.
One of the things that seemed to be a concern of ours, and I know I did speak with Mr. Himmelberger as well, was that a number of our student and repeat offenders were missing a lot of class time because they were in in-school suspension. And while they are getting schoolwork, they aren't getting the instruction that they truly need. So one of the things, in speaking to some of the other schools and athletic directors as I go to those meetings, we found that a number of places allow their students to go to class at the beginning of school. So we felt we would send our students for 2 periods at the beginning of the day to their classes. So in effect, ISS would now start after the 2nd period of the day. The positives of ISS have been great. The unfortunate part for us with ISS is that it really ended up not acting as a deterrent to a lot of our students with regard to tardies or possibly other behaviors. Reason being is that no matter what it was, you were getting out with everybody else. The harshest penalty that we actually had here, and the biggest deterrent for behavior, was actually office detention, because nobody wanted to stay after school until 3:30. Problem with that, if you didn't go to office detention, you would get in-school suspension. So we ended up with students coming to my office and saying, what does that get me? And I would say, that gets you in office detention. They said, well, don't worry, Coach D, I'm not going, so just give me in-school suspension. Because they didn't want to stay after school. Staying after school was the biggest penalty, okay? So what we've done, all added to the going to the first 2 periods of class, is to extend ISS till 3:30. So now they will go to the first 2 periods of class, report after the 2nd period to the ISS room, and remain there until 3:30 in the afternoon. In speaking only to a few of our
Frequent flyers.
our frequent ISS people.
You have a mileage club, yes.
Yeah.
They were absolutely devastated that their home sweet home would keep them now longer in the day. So I believe it's really going to be something positive. The other thing is that we're going to attempt not to put anyone in on consecutive days. So that they wouldn't go in more than 3 days in a week. And I know that sounds like, wow, that's a lot, 3 days in a week, but if tardies mounted, they were getting many days. And by not putting people in consecutive days, if they were to go in on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they would never miss the same classes. So they would miss, if we started out with an A day on Monday, they'd go to periods 1 and 2. If they came back on Wednesday, they would go to classes 3 and 4. So the only class that they would actually miss whenever they went in would be period 6. So it gets them into class more often. It stops them from missing the same classes constantly. And I believe this will truly act as a deterrent because our tardy policy, on the fourth tardy, you go to office detention. On the 6th, I believe, you go to in-school suspension. But what's happening to us is we had students on the 4th tardy just blowing off the office detention, going right, and then going into the ISS. So they were going in too many times. So I think this will be something that really does a good job as a deterrent.
It'll be interesting to see how it works for the new year, the new school year. Hopefully, you'll be 100% right. Mrs. Ravelli?
Just one question. What additional support is there until 3:30? Because you do have, classes end at 2:15 or 2:10 or 1:50 or who knows?
What would actually happen is that our ISS monitor would not come in at 7. They would come in at 9, and then they would stay till 3:30 with them, and that would be a 6.5-hour day, which is what we have here.
Okay.
Right,
at the high
and
school.
what's their support? I had assumed that already.
It's
So
from administration.
support from, just support, if they're in school suspension during the week, there are several teachers throughout the school, but by 3:30, I would say that most of your teachers are probably gone.
Exactly. To
what
answer
is
your
the support?
question more directly, first and foremost, teachers drop work off. They usually receive the list, for example, for tomorrow. they received the list via email by approximately 11 o'clock this morning. So they know what students, and it's their responsibility to get work down. What we have frowned upon and we don't like is teachers interrupting ISS during the course of the day, because then it breaks the routine that's going on. So the work comes down in the morning, and when they go to ISS, the work goes with them. So in terms of academic support, Mr. Nugent, myself, and oftentimes Mr. Dildorian usually here till 3:30 minimum, 4 o'clock, to make sure all the kids are on the buses. So we're in the building, we're directly across the hall. In terms of specific teachers, they don't do that during the course of the day anyway.
No, I'm just thinking that at 3:30, who else is in the building for the in-school suspension person? And you've answered that
Oh,
by
right, we're
saying
directly
2:30.
across the hall. Right.
Anything else? Anything else?
Not on
Miranda?
this.
I mean-
Is that the entire, those,
Those are the only changes to the handbook.
well, then I do have something else.
Go ahead.
The only other thing that, and we talked about it in the past, is I was just surprised then there's no change to require any sort of community service for graduation. Am I correct
Correct.
in assuming that?
That is correct. I've had to, quite frankly, we've had reductions this year, I'm sure, as you know. So our budget is not the same at the high school as going into next year as it was this year. The ability, in talking to my colleagues in the Southern Worcester County League, one of the issues is valued community service. Quite frankly, one of the things they run into is Uncle Joe writes a letter that they completed community service. And then it's a matter of, with all of the weights and measures that are being placed on the entire faculty and staff today, it's another position or another responsibility that has to be taken on. So it really is, I don't want to say it's a monumental task, but there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into completing that. In theory, I think it's wonderful. I think it's absolutely outstanding. In terms of practicality, at this point in time, I don't know how we could do it. So if anyone does have a suggestion of that, I certainly would be amenable to listening.
So what resources do you think you would need then in order to actually require that? What is expected? You know,
Well,
what
quite
are
frankly,
expected
if we had
resources?
someone that could coordinate for example, with work study, to be able to, which we have a pseudo work study program, but to have an ideal work study program, you have someone that goes out, that meets with the employees and does hands-on observations. Well, this would be, another opportunity where someone can get out and do verifications. So if that would mean that you did half a teaching load, and then, of course, with our rotating schedule, there would be different times during the course of the day that they could get out and they could do that. Certainly someone full-time would make it much easier, but it's, again, it's something that is a wonderful idea, but in terms of the implementation of it, and most importantly, recording and making sure that everyone completes their hours the right way, it's something that's very difficult. The one thing that if I may go back to, as far as the handbook, I don't want anyone to be misled. When we're talking about frequent flyers, the reality is that the vast, vast, vast majority of our students are really, really good kids that hardly ever get into any trouble. We're talking, when we're saying people that can't be in more than 3 times, maybe 1, but no more than 2% of our student population is the target percentage that you're looking at. So obviously 98 to 99% are doing, they're doing very well. So it's a small, small percentage, and quite frankly, that's what a handbook is for those that have trouble following things. The vast majority really don't need a handbook.
That's good to hear. Anything else? All right, very good.
All righty.
Now on to your improvement plan.
Sure. Looking at our school improvement plan, the first several pages are informational pages that provide you information, including but not limited to the profile sheet, which has a lot of information about Oxford High School regarding accreditation, enrollment, the marking system, courses that are part of our graduation requirement. The following page, well, going back to the beginning, you have your mission statement, you have the goals and objectives, the district mission statement, and the district improvement goals. You have Oxford High School mission statement. Then you have the school profile. The next page is simply our total enrollment, our enrollment by ethnicity, and then when you take a look at time and learning, you'll see a difference in some of the days. That's basically because of the addition of a advisory period on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so the passing time in there certainly is not counted towards time and learning. That's why that fluctuates. Following page is a list from 2006 to 2012 for you to take a look at a comparative analysis of ELA and math MCAS scores. When we look at, and I will say, I'd like to thank Mrs. Hackett for the outline. I know that Mrs. Hackett and Mr. Yvonne, and now the high school as well, is kind of trying to use the same format in terms of presentation to make it a little bit easier. When you look at the executive summary, I will apologize because the executive summary also and the Oxford highlights is essentially the same thing. The Oxford highlights should not have been in there. That was inadvertently put in, but it's all factual information that's already listed on the executive summary. When we look and reflect on last year's school improvement plan, targeting and highlighting the most important changes that we made that were recommended and approved by the school committee, moving guidance downstairs has made a tremendous change in the entire culture of the building. The accessibility, although the location in terms of proximity is ideal, the guidance suite itself is far from perfect. Mr. Doldorian, becoming the Dean of Students, has been a tremendous asset to us, has been allowed us to stay on top of discipline the entire year, and being out and about in the building, certainly focusing on discipline has helped us tremendously. Having a full-time in-school suspension monitor has been an additional asset to the high school, and it's provided us consistency on a daily basis. Replacing positions that we had cut due to a reduction in force. We were able to bring back Ms. Chambers, and then Ms. Lau joined us in the foreign language department from the middle school. In addition, as we continue to analyze our MCAS data, we will continue to change, upgrade, and implement our curriculum. We're using Atlas Rubicon. This year, ELA and math will be finishing. Next year, we'll be focusing on history and science. Our teachers are well into that as well from those respective departments. All the other departments are using Atlas Rubicon, common assessments, coming up with common assessments quarterly for each and every core course is mandatory to the entire faculty and staff. You have the listing of the goals for this year to increase the academic success of students on IEPs by increasing integration of regular ed curriculum, to increase more active parental involvement and expand community outreach, to increase the effectiveness of teaching and provide more student learning opportunities. And then we go into the goals. Would you like me to go through the goals? Would you like to ask questions immediately from perusing them over the course of the last few days? Students on IEPs, I can give a quick overview. For example, to increase the academic success of students on IEPs, our MCAS scores for students on IEPs have not been good at all. We recognize that, we understand that. Unfortunately, with the change in special education directors over the last few years, what's happened is we increased, not substantially separate classrooms, but we increased the number of students that were in a self-contained classroom with their peers for 2 or 3 periods a day, and then rotated into our academic schedule. ELA and math being 2 of those classes. One of the problems with that is we ask our special education teachers, in all due respect, to know every single discipline, and it really isn't fair to them. So in meeting with Trish Susan, next year we're going back to a co-teaching model. So we'll target students, most especially in grades 9 and 10, in ELA and math. And we will have a co-teaching model where the students will be going by the curriculum map of grade 9 ELA, curriculum map of grade 9, and as well as grade 10, 11, and 12. But with MCAS scores, grade 9 and 10 is going to be a huge focus area. So I would expect that we're going to see a huge change in our MCAS scores the following year. So they will take it next spring, and then a year from September, our results coming out. And that's something that we really want to focus on. And that's certainly why it's number 1.
I'd like to hear how you're going to bring the parents in. What the ideas are.
Well, parental involvement, obviously, I think district-wide, we face a real conundrum in terms of, it's very much like church in that the people that are at church usually are on the straight and narrow and working it, and a lot of people that aren't there don't get to see the message. One of our issues when we look at parents' nights, when we look at communication home, whether it be via email, newsletter, it really doesn't, our responses are coming back from those students and the parents that have showed success.
It always is.
So that's what's somewhat frustrating and difficult. When we have to call parents in because of disciplinary issues, clearly there's interaction. So I'm not saying that we're going to mandate that all parents that have any discipline issues come in every single time, but certainly we have begun this year to increase parent involvement by saying, look, and that's only a percentage, a small percentage. But when they get in, when they come into the school for a meeting, we try to get them more engaged. You know, have you gone on, have you used the internet? Do you have access to the internet so you can communicate directly with the teachers? And were you at parents' night? So it gives us an opportunity face-to-face. One of the things that we're going to do with our athletic department is to have meetings each season. And that's something that we're going to take a hard stand on in terms of providing a Meet the Coaches night that will begin with a presentation by Coach Doldorian and myself, and then divide it up so the parents can meet the coaches, both varsity and JV. And, you know, certainly there's a huge percentage of student athletes that get involved. I would like to see an outreach even to the student council. Most of the kids that are on the National Honor Society and the student council are engaged. They're a lot of the same kids, and they do the same thing. When you're looking at volunteerism and the struggles that the Booster Club has, we have a lot of the same kids that are in NJROTC, so on Sunday they're putting flags in for the veterans, you know, and then they're at the NHS induction banquet on Tuesday, and, you know, they have a student council fundraiser coming up. So a lot of those kids are all the same kids. Our biggest outreach, I think, is going to be to try to have parental forums. I really will work on trying to have coffee with the principal as well. We had the dinner with the superintendent. Unfortunately, you know, again, the turnout, you can't twist arms. You can make things available.
But don't you think if you targeted a specific group of parents for dinner with the superintendent or coffee with the principal and invited them in personally, do you think you would have a different outcome?
Personally, as in a phone call?
Phone call, note, a letter home, by mail, because we know the student won't give it to the parent.
I think that you may have a little different income, but
I'm not looking for people to come in droves. I'm looking
Right.
for 5, 8, 10 parents single, married, it doesn't matter to me. Shouldn't matter to anybody.
Right.
One parent, both parents, to be able to come in and feel that personal invitation. You're bringing them to your house, in a way.
Right,
This
right.
is your house. When you are invited, I think you feel more special, maybe. You feel more welcomed. So that is one of the things that I'm hoping that we will discuss further, of course, and that the superintendent can target those parents that you need to reach out to have that kind of group intervention with the principal, the superintendent, some school committee members, other parents of the same caliber, the ones you want to reach. It's just a thought. I know if somebody called me personally and said, you know, hi, Mrs. Ennis, this is Mr. Wells from the high school. We're having a parent dinner with the superintendent, myself, Mr. Nugent, some school committee members. We really would like you and your husband or whatever to come and join us that night. Can I count on you to be there? Dinner is on us. They may say, well, what do you want me for?
So dinner's on the school committee? Is that what?
Dinner's on the
Oh,
superintendent.
all right.
Nice try. You know,
No, I understand.
I'm just thinking because anybody, when you get invited somewhere, it's kind of flattering, you know? And if the superintendent or the principal of the district is calling you and saying, we'd like you to come in, and they're gonna say, well, what do you want me for? We're very interested in hearing what you have to say, because that is what we want them for. We want them to come, sit down, feel comfortable, relax, have dinner, just like you would if you were sitting in your dining room or at your kitchen table with friends.
Right.
So that's something that I'd like to, work on, of course, with the superintendent for his evenings, and hopefully we can do something like that at all the schools, because the parents of the kids that do well are the parents that are already engaged, involved, they take part in the education. We want the other parents that don't quite do that yet, so that they can feel welcome and they can feel like, okay, this is part of my community, my family, and I belong here.
I think I understand completely what you're saying. I think the stick-to-itness of reaching out and just continuing to knock on doors certainly is a good idea, and we should never give up on that. To this point in time, the harsh reality, based on my 5 years here, is that I can use an example, bullying, and how it's been such a hot topic. And if you recall, we invited the district attorney, and I know that, I think Neil's still behind me, we probably had a minimum of 3 all-calls that went home, right to the homes. It was on the website, on the superintendent's website, on our website, for a district pre-K through 12 wide meeting with the district attorney regarding the laws, the rules, regarding bullying. And quite frankly, there were more teaching, administrative, school committee personnel there than the number of parents. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying to stop knocking on doors and stop making the attempts, but a lot of times, I had 12 seniors that were struggling, and at the midway point, they were in jeopardy of not graduating. They all received letters, quite frankly, that are expensive because I went to the post office and they were registered. And we received contact from the parents to us by probably 3.
Mm. And I know that. But that's why I'm saying, if it's a more personal effort, I guess is the best way for me to put it. If it's more personal.
I think you're really onto something with the parent groups. I like the idea of, I have a coffee and
Right.
with the student council parents.
Right.
Coffee and with the National Honor Society parents. I think that's a great idea.
And the district attorney Now, and I'm not being flip. I'm not in any way honest, because I was there that night. I saw
Right.
you know, who was there.
Right.
And you think, when you're sitting there, I wish, you know, parent A was there, and parent B and C and D, the ones that you really wish that that could have touched. If they were invited, I think some of them, you're not gonna get them all. You're not, but some of them would have come. And the other thing is, on that night, the superintendent wasn't cooking, so that right there, they know they're just there to listen to somebody. But when they know that he's gonna be cooking, that's a different story. I think that they will come. It's happened in the elementary schools.
I think that's a thought. He should actually do the cooking.
I think the school committee should do the cooking.
But we do,
And the superintendent should serve with the principal and the vice principal.
There you go.
So just, you know, something for us to think about over the summer, so that when the next school year begins, we kind of can put that plan in place. I just think it needs to be more, it's got to have that family feel. You know, we always are saying that the Oxford Schools is a family. Well, let's give it that family feel to the family, if that helps, or if that, just my thought. I'll polish
Okay.
my thought.
Message heard.
Okay.
when we look at increasing the effectiveness of teaching and to provide more student learning opportunities, I think our professional development in the district has really come a tremendously long way. I think that there are great opportunities for our teachers and our educators. I'm excited about the fact that we'll have more next year. I think that the superintendent and the central office has done an outstanding job of staying on top of things and providing professional development for teachers that's valuable. Sometimes, and you're educated, sometimes you go to PD and it's, why am I here again? But I don't think that happened at all this year. And in looking into what we'll be doing next year, I think it's been excellent. The teacher evaluation instrument, clearly next year, every district will be full bore. I think by the nature of it, and I know you've had an opportunity to look at it, it's there as an assistance tool. It will take administrators a tremendous amount of time going in and out of classrooms, and then writing classroom visits and summative and so on and so forth, evaluations. But the fact of the matter is, it will change the lenses in which teachers look at student learning rather than teaching. As we prepare to our graduation requirements are going to have to change. I've heard additional advanced placement. I've heard loud and clear, you know, the need for, or the request for additional advanced placement courses. As we look at the Common Core and 4 years of math, right now currently at Oxford High School there's 3. That means we're going to have 4 years of math. I'll be asking the upcoming year for another math teacher, you know, at the high school, so that we can expand our offerings, but most importantly, cover the 4 years of math. Both are going to have to transpire and take place together at the same time. I think that the design and implementation of the Common Core standards, you know, we're well underway there. Teachers are very well aware of that. I think that certainly is going to change how we take a look at teaching and learning as well. And the addition of our department heads, at least at Oxford High School, as a valued position has made a tremendous difference. Meeting every Tuesday, the last Tuesday of the month, having agendas and itinerary to cover and go over, and the level of responsibility that department heads have in terms of incorporating Common Core standards, in terms of developing the design models for new classes and courses. This year, we added an elective because we're very short on electives, but I had a math teacher who has tremendous experience in the music world teach the history of rock and roll in 2 sections, which worked very well. But unfortunately, we have to use that person for math next year, so that course is not going to be able to be offered. As you look at advanced placement courses, I have a chemistry teacher that is a ball of fire, that is chomping at the bit, both in chemistry, and I have physics that would love to have advanced placement. The only point that I'd like to make is if they're teaching an advanced placement class, we may not have the numbers to fill those seats. So we're going to have to come up with where is the cutoff. Just like we have some electives, and if I don't have at least 10 students in that class, I don't run an elective, because if a teacher's teaching an elective, they're not teaching a core course where someone else might have 30 kids. So we could make that a little bit smaller. So it's easy to say, when you have a population, for example, Shepherd Hill has 1,400 students. When you have 1,400 students, it's pretty easy to put kids in seats for electives that are especially advanced placement. It's very difficult with a school this small to have a multitude of advanced placement courses. It's very easy if you say it's okay to have 3 or 4 kids or 5 kids in a class. Then you have a teacher, you take the money that they make annually and you divide it by the number of teaching periods, which is only 5. They have 5 teaching periods, 1 duty period, and 1 prep period. So out of those 5, they're teaching 4 kids 1. Then they have their caseload with the other 4. Hopefully that, is pretty reasonable. So it's just not, I just want to say it's not as simple as saying we want to just add it, because we have to make a decision. And if you wanted to add AP Physics, for example, or if you wanted to add an AP Spanish, or Spanish would be a good example, we may not have the numbers to put in there. That's all. Because oftentimes with AP, I find that students would rather take an honors course and have their GPA over the top than take a weighted advanced placement course, and which is demanding. For example, summer reading, completely different reading list for pre-AP and AP in English. Rather than do that, they'd rather ace the honors. So they look at their GPA when they're looking at class rank.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the committee? Mr. Coonan?
Yes. Mr. Wells, you make some very pointed points against AP. AP is rigor. How can, in honors is rigor, from the AP side, to do it justice, are there pre-AP programs currently being offered? For example, in an honors class, can we convert those to pre-AP, that there's a pipeline for the students to start and know the language, to know what the AP, the rigor of what AP class is all about, to get them ready to go to the next level?
We do that in pre-AP history and pre-AP English right now. And our numbers, again, are pretty good. So yes, I mean, we've already started and have been doing that. When you look at, for example, physics is all of this, the freshmen coming in for the most part will take a physics class. And that's what they test on in the spring of their freshman year. So we haven't even gone to like a physics 3 class yet. So but you're absolutely right. You mean in terms of a recruiting process?
In the recruiting process, in the terms and the language.
Right.
Of the College Board language that they expect in classes.
Right. We have used pre-AP in English and U.S. history.
And it's been pretty successful?
And those are our 2 most successful number-wise classes. I think they're also the 2 most popular classes that are offered by AP, would be history and English. There's a million AP classes. We could do an AP statistics. There's a wide variety. So, but I agree.
I agree with that, again, through the chair, yeah, like you said, there's some amazing AP classes that a lot of students really like the AP Economics is one of the more popular ones, but it does come out.
We've tried to encourage a lot of our students that are exceptionally academically driven and accept the challenge to take some online courses through VHS that can be very challenging as well, that we can't offer here. We just had someone that transferred to us from another school take Chinese 2, I think it was Mandarin 2, online, because we don't offer Mandarin.
Right. And again, that's an exception, where something like that, where you don't expect a lot of students to, with your population being the lower numbers,
Right.
To have the, I guess the students capable of doing something like that. But I think with the pre-AP curriculum, the language, the basics, and the rigor from the ground up, you know, where a lot of pre-AP programs already start in the 5th grade, so district-wide, one of the goals could be district-wide, Mr. Superintendent, is to start that conversations, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, to build students up, so they're expected, when they get to the high school, that they're asking for AP students. And again, the ones that are borderline, that really want to boost their GPA by staying in the honors, but now say, wait a minute, you really belong in the AP program.
Right. And again, I just want to, this is just to put it out there in terms of actual facts, reality check facts. The Oxford Middle School obviously is the jettison point of kids coming into the high school. So they come very well prepared, but they don't come with the same wide, diversified academics that a lot of other districts have. And the most glaring, and since I've been here, they had French. They don't have a foreign language. We've had to make reductions. And when the assessment was done by their principal, Mrs. Hackett, you know, she made the changes with Mr. Milner that were in the best interest of that school. The fact of the matter is, as simplistically as it is, they should have a Spanish and a French teacher so that when they come to the high school, they can jump into Spanish 2, 3, and 4. But even when they had a foreign language teacher, it was just one language, and it was Spanish. So, I mean, I hear you, I understand. There's nothing more being homegrown and homebred and gone pre-K through 12 through this district that I would like to see. But there are some things, hardcore, absolute facts, that are money-based. And it's just a fact, it's a reality. And it doesn't matter who I'm speaking to, just tell me differently. Because it's just a fact. And I'm not saying it's all of the facts, but it's an absolute fact. And clearly, by the way, the inflection in my voice, it's a little bit of a passion of mine in terms of the quality of education that the kids are getting. Because, and even when you were back in school, which is long, you graduated long after I.
It was one AP back then. That's it.
But the other offerings that you had were much more diversified.
Yes, they were.
Much more
I totally
diversified.
agree. And I think that's something, again, Ms. Dennis, if I may continue, and that's really what is the shortfalls in our budget situation right now. While we went on the floor town meeting and asked for additional funds to get these programs back in, to be able to say, this is what we need, this is how we get to point A to point B. When the community funds us as a level 3 district, which they're doing, that's what we're gonna get. You have great programs. Mrs. Hackett has great programs, Mr. Mulder, Mr. Nugent, and you have wonderful programs and ideas and thoughts. The reality comes, money only goes so far. And what we can do with it, and that's where people have to make decisions to get the best bang that they can for out of the buck. That's where we are. So I thank you, Mr. Walsh, for your passion, and mine as well.
Any other questions, folks?
Thank you, Mr. Coonan. Anything else? I'd like to entertain a motion, if I could, for the school improvement plan for the Oxford High School.
So move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor of the improvement plan?
Aye.
4 affirmative, 1 absent. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate your presentation and your hard work.
Ms. Dennis, Madam Chair, point of order.
Go ahead, sir.
We also had handbook changes, and I don't believe that we ever voted those handbook changes in.
Do we vote them?
Those you have to accept.
We do.
Accept-
Okay.
accept those.
Go ahead. If I could entertain a motion?
I'd so move that.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, I'm gonna do them both, or, yeah, I'm gonna do them both. To accept the,
Separately? You just
You want
did
me-
the school
all right,
improvement
I'll do
one.
them separately, okay. To, let's see, this will be for the reading list, if we could.
We don't need to vote the reading
Oh,
list.
Just handbook changes.
Oh,
Handbook.
Okay.
Handbook. I'll get you back on track. Handbook.
Thank you, I appreciate it, Madam Vice Chair. Handbook,
So move.
thank you. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor?
No.
Aye.
I have 3 affirmative, 1 no, 1 absent. Thank you very much. Mrs. Hackett, Mr. Milner, come on up.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
again, I sat on this committee for the middle school improvement, so I'll be stepping down and joining the audience.
Very good. Thank you very much. Note that for the record for me, Jess, okay?
Zach,
No, it's up to you. You can stay.
you go. So you wanna go first?
Thank you very much for coming in tonight.
Thank you for having us, Mrs. Ennis and the committee. Which would you like to begin with first? The, up to us?
Your pleasure.
Okay, let's do summer reading first. The brochure that each child brings home has not changed. Parent suggestions and just general information about it. All that has changed on there is the updated year. And the students will get their Lexile score attached here. We're in the process of doing that now. And they will also get their username and password for Study Island, so that during the summer, they will have easy access to all of that information that they may need.
Okay.
Within the actual reading list itself, the department, through Mrs. Dore and all of the teachers in the ELA department, worked on updating, and so there are some changes to the reading list, some to actual selections, and some to the required assignments that were to accompany after the reading has been completed. And that was based upon their information gathered over the past few years as to what was still pertinent, where our areas of concern were primarily our nonfiction area needed to be really reinforced. And so with grade 5, they still have a nonfiction requirement and a fiction choice. However, the choices for their assignments have changed so that there were different response options for them. Some of them would be more creative. They could do a PowerPoint presentation, they could do a diorama, they could do a poster, they could do basic essays and open response questions so that it would deal with the student learning outcome of the reading and the writing assignment in ELA. Grade 6 also made some changes to theirs. They changed some of the reading selections, and that was designed through their choices to try to align their ELA reading assignments with the social studies main topics that they would be doing throughout the year, so that there would be a basis for them to keep referring back to and have conversation and dialogue when it was pertinent to the social studies assignments. And they do 2 types of a follow-up after they've completed their reading. One is a common assessment, which is online, and all 6th graders take that with their literacy teacher, Mrs. Duca. And then within their ELA classes, they do the other written assignments, which they again have choices that are presented to them. Many of them, in addition to being a writing assignment choice, are also aligned to the standards for that grade for their writing assignments in ELA. And so that is a continuation of that. And there are opportunities for students who are really good writers to respond through their written. There are opportunities for children who are creative. There are opportunities for children who are technology savvy. So trying to appeal to the various talents that the children have. Grade 7 did not change terribly. They did do some updating. There are no new additions to the reading list itself. However, the writing assignments, there were clarifications made, not that they necessarily changed, but in an attempt to try and make the directions a little bit easier to understand. So they did change. And again, they have options, whether they're creative options, their writing options, their retelling options, whatever their strength may be. And again, at each grade level, we have offered, because it has been over the past few years, our MCAS scores have had considerable questions directed at nonfiction, and in some areas, we were stronger in some grades than others. So each grade is required to have both a fiction and a nonfiction requirement. Grade 8 did make some changes to theirs in that they have added some selections and some deleted some selections based on their curriculum mapping that they have worked on very extensively over this past school year. And also looking at the students' needs based on MCAS testing and MAP testing. Our students have a Lexile score. Some of our ranges were too low, so those were eliminated. And based on our current students, we needed to increase some of the reading Lexile ranges that were in a higher category than we had previously. So they were really done in a response to the needs and the abilities of the students that we have sitting in front of us each day. Again, trying to base some of our responses on Common Core standards. The writing assignments or the response assignments are, and the options, again, are there for them. And most of the graphic organizers are here. However, students also can access all of these online. This particular booklet was just too much paper to print for every child, and so to be green and to be as paperless as we could, all of this is posted online. And we have worked with the children's librarian so that as soon as this is accepted, we will again work with her to make sure that ample copies are available. Some ebooks will be available, and student writing assignments will also go down to her so that if she is of any help, she will be able to partner with us in that endeavor.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any questions from the committee?
No question, just a comment.
Please.
It was nice to see the inclusion of different things like the PowerPoints and the dioramas and whatever, just the variety of responses, which were the main changes, that I saw. It was really nice because there are lots of kids that don't write well. And this is a way for them to be interested and show you what they know. So that was very nice to see.
As we've been able to increase our availability of technology at the middle school, and Mr. Trahan has been wonderful to us, and our teachers have bought in very, very heavily and extensively, our children have become more comfortable with it. And if using a device is going to help them, make it easier for them to write and respond to a prompt, then certainly that is an avenue that we want for them to explore.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much. I'd like to entertain a motion. Do I need a motion for this? I'm I always forget this. I always do.
You don't have to approve.
Don't have to
reading this.
approve
To
it.
accept.
You just
Motion
The only
accept
thing
it.
that you need to approve is the handbook change.
That's right. I know. I do know that.
After
Okay.
9 years, you should.
I know. I should. You're right. I should know something. At least one thing. Okay.
Yes.
Supportive motion, I guess, to support the.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept, okay. The
So
reading.
moved.
So I'll move. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3 affirmative, 1 abstention, and 1 absent.
Okay. Next.
Now to
would you-
your handbook?
Okay, all right. We did include a cover sheet for you to make it a little bit easier, and then within the document itself, they are highlighted so that they're easy to locate for you. Certainly, in light of the tragedy in Newtown, we have included a new section on security, which I think we would be remiss if we did not. So page 12 reflects the district's emphasis on school safety and security. And while I was out on medical leave, the crisis committee worked very closely with Mr. Milner, did several lockdown drills, several evacuation drills, and so we certainly will continue those as part of our everyday practice, just as for I don't know how many years, schools have done fire drills, and schools, certainly in the Midwest, have done tornado evacuation drills. We intend to continue with our security drills, just so that our children are comfortable enough with it so that in the event that something terrible were to happen, they would at least be prepared and familiar with our expectation of them.
Do you use the all-call system to notify parents that you're doing any of these drills?
I'll let you answer that.
In order to prevent any panic within the building whatsoever,
Yeah,
any security drill will have an announcement in the morning saying that we will have a security drill during the course of the morning or the afternoon. We do not, absolutely not want any child texting home saying we're having a lockdown.
Right,
They need to know
right.
it's a drill.
Okay.
And that, as far as I believe, that would be the wise course all the time.
Okay.
To announce the drill is happening sometime that day. And all drills were supervised with the OPD with us every step of the way. They were very effective.
Okay.
But that pre-warning prevented any panic or anybody getting any kind
Good.
of anxiety over the issue.
Okay,
I
good.
think that's prudent.
Excellent, thank you.
The next one, in order to accommodate the professional development half-days that were to be scheduled throughout the school year, we did need to adjust our opening time so that we were still within our time on task. So we do start 10 minutes earlier now, and that has been reflected in our, I believe on page 5, and that also deals with our tardiness policy, which the adjusted time has not really made a significant change in our tardies. Most of our children arrive by bus. The buses still get them here pretty early, between 7:15 and 7:20. That still allows them time to have breakfast, some time to socialize with their friends before the bell rings to go to homeroom at 7:45. So they're really, even though it did give us more time on learning, it really did not change their arrival time or bus time, so has not had an impact on tardies one way or the other.
Okay.
Our school nurse also has added a section to the health issues chapter for general guidelines regarding keeping children home from school. This is to clarify our expectations for families regarding children who may present a risk to others with issues such as fever, vomiting, or diarrhea. So I think sometimes children convince their parents, I have to go to school, I have a test. Well, that may all well and be fine, but we don't want you making everybody else in your homeroom sick.
Right.
So we needed to spell it out a little bit more clearly, and also to give parents a little bit of a guideline. And it is all right to keep them home if they're ill. While school is very important, we also need to think about their health and the health of the other children and the staff. So that was added in by our nurse. National Junior Honor Society does now have a requirement for 10 hours of community service, and you were at our induction ceremony the other night as I read off some of the programs that they had participated in, and it was a very impressive list. And it is the expectation that they fulfill those 10 hours. However, many of our children did far more than the 10 hours. Our student council also has requirement for community service, and that is voluntary within them being on that committee. And many of our children, through their parents, because our children are young, are not really able to drive or to arrange transportation for themselves, participate with their parents through their church or through food banks. And even though they're not required to, different children have commented. One of our 7th grade girls, who is not in any of these groups that has a requirement for community service, has been collecting teddy bear donations to send to children from the tornado areas in Oklahoma. So even though that's not a requirement, our children are seeing that as really what is expected of a good citizen. And so through the good training from their parents, and also I think maybe seeing the students in the National Honor Society or the student council doing these things, that it kind of rubs off.
Right.
And whether we're doing Coins for a Cure or doing Hat Day for the One Fund in Boston, whatever it was, we tend to have pretty decent participation even from our students who are not required to participate in those things. So it is becoming a part of our culture very slowly. While we don't have a person to require it and record either, some of our groups and committees and our staff advisors have put that in as a requirement. And let's see, the prohibition of energy drinks, that had come up as a request from our nurse. Some of our children, I guess, have not discovered yet that water is probably the best drink in the house. And so we felt it necessary to put that in as a guideline as well. And that was about it for our changes.
Okay.
You know, each year we go through and see what is still pertinent and what needs to be looked at, so.
Any questions or comments from the committee? Go ahead.
No,
Oh,
I
you
don't have it.
No.
No.
All right, then.
There's the cover sheet.
Yes. Excellent.
So,
Not enough easy tonight.
I know, thank you. Motion to support.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3 affirmative, 1 absent, 1
Abstain.
abstain. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Not
So
onto
now
your
the school
plan.
improvement.
Thank you, yep.
and this is the committee with which Mr. Coonan had participated with us in this. We did look at the new goals, considering our status as a level 3 district, and that was really a key motivator in the goals that were determined. And if you look at this particular improvement plan and compare it to last year's, there are far fewer goals because we have decided to make them smarter goals. And so there are fewer of them. However, they, I believe, are more meaningful and realistic in that they are measurable and achievable. So the first, and they're all based on our district improvement goals, which are on page 2 for you. We also have the enrollment data for the school. Sorry, I'm dropping that on your microphone there. And our scores in the past, which are really used as collecting data and trying to make data-driven decisions for any programmatic changes or involved in our curriculum mapping. And you can see that there are increases and some are static, so. Our first goal is to increase effectiveness of teaching and learning in Oxford Middle School, to move Oxford Middle School from a level 2 to a level 1 status. We currently are level 2. And quite honestly, some of our teachers were very disappointed with that because of how hard they worked. So in spite of the fact that they had worked very hard in the past, they worked even harder this year. They were very well represented with the curriculum mapping teams that have met throughout the year, sometimes 2 or 3 days a week for 2 or 3 hours at a time. And so they were quite invested in that, putting that document together, and also in putting more rigor into their everyday curriculum. The various activities and people responsible are self-explanatory, but certainly if you have questions, we would entertain. Some of them do rely heavily on local budget. Others, I think we are able to work with what we have within our own ranks and within our own areas of expertise with our staff. But we do have, we have really very heavily rested on the curriculum map that our teachers have been working with our curriculum coordinator to do. And I can say with some confidence that we are just about finished with both math and ELA at the middle school for all 4 grades. And that is in certainly great amount of work from our teachers, but also with the guidance of Mrs. Daly and also with the DSAC team, who have been very helpful and instrumental. One of the pieces that we were trained by the DSAC committee was to complete learning walks at our school. And so we have not only trained our teams and ourselves, but we also have volunteered 2 teachers who are coordinating the program. And they have continued the learning walks. And it is really, it's a wonderful program, and the more people that we have had participate, the more people would like to be trained and involved over the next school year. So that basically what it is, the team visits several classrooms within a day. The teachers who are being visited do not know who they are. There is a particular standard that has been identified, and while they visit, they are collecting data. It is not judgmental. The teacher's name is never used. And then the team reconvenes later at the end of the day to collate what they have observed and put together. And then they report back to the staff that, 82% of our teachers are doing whatever that particular standard was. Maybe higher order thinking skills, or maybe extending lessons and for discussion. For example, that we were trying, the move is to get away from just rote answers, worksheets. And so if that was something that they were to observe, they would report back that while our move is to really develop our higher order thinking skills, that we still did observe 12% of our teachers participating in this particular practice.
How often are you doing that?
For a while there, we were doing them quite regularly.
We have 24 teachers trained at this time. Each of those teachers has made 2 walks this year. We visited a couple of dozen classrooms over the course of the fall and the spring. Everybody's walked at least twice, and it's completely independent of the evaluation cycle, and it's completely independent of administration. We don't even know who's being evaluated or who's being observed, by the team, and we don't know the makeup of the team except for getting the substitutes for them. But it's done by 2 of our teachers under the that have been trained by DSAC. And it runs completely independently, and the teachers are so enthusiastic. It is finally getting the silos broken down and teachers into other teachers' classrooms. Something that's been the holy grail of teaching for a long time is to build professional learning communities, and peer observations is the heart of professional learning communities. And now we're doing it completely independently within the middle school.
Very good.
And with enthusiasm.
Even better, yeah.
We have also spent considerable amount of time this year with Mrs. Daly's assistance and with our math department head and our math teachers to explore and investigate what we need to do as far as mapping our curriculum, but also as far as finding a tool so that our standards are being addressed consistently and that we are reaching all of the standards, and they will speak to that later, to you, I believe. We also have remediation plans in place for targeted students, and we are very excited about the possibility next year of our remediation plans including tiered instruction, so that we currently have pretty extensive and successful Tier 1. We have some Tier 2, however, we're looking to expand that on a more consistent basis across all grade levels and across both math and ELA. And then our Tier 3 would target our neediest students. And so without needing to hire staff, but kind of reassigning the staff that we have and using the resources and strengths that we have, we believe we're going to be able to put that plan into practice right away when we begin school in the fall. So these are some of the key pieces that we've put together for you. Our second goal is to increase parental involvement.
Mrs. Hackett, one second.
Sorry,
Mrs.
sure.
Mrs. Ravelli has a question.
Can you speak to just a little bit about the success plans? It says here, students scoring needs improvement or warning.
Well, they
I'm
would
not
be.
real familiar with that. What does that mean?
Again, this is going to be a new piece that we're looking to implement, and that would be using the staff that we will have to implement our tiered instruction for Tier 2 and Tier 3, which we are kind of reshuffling the deck in order to put that into place. So students who are struggling or get needs improvement or warning in math or ELA would have currently the classes that they take. In ELA, they have their ELA class. They also have literacy class. They would have yet another if they are in needs improvement and warning. For math, they would have their math class, possibly a STEM class, and then they would have another math class for, in smaller groups, maybe 6 or 8 children instead of a group of 30, targeting the particular standard that they struggled with on MCAS. And then we'd be able to use progress monitoring through common assessments and also through MAP testing. And we're going to have a baseline for them. And also they would sort of test in and test out, so to speak, a pre-test and a post-test.
So they would move in and out of these groups?
Probably on 5 or 10-week rotations, depending on how well they improve that scale and depending on what that standard is that they're working on with those additional groups.
And is that based on additional staffing, which, what I see in the next column?
It's not necessarily additional staffing, but it's reassigning some of the people that we have to different roles. and looking to maximize people's strengths. And we did also apply for the MTSS grant, but we have not heard the outcome of that, but that certainly would also help us extensively in this.
When do we hear on that?
I'm not sure, do we know?
I believe it's over the summer.
This week, even better,
This week?
this week.
This week? That's before the summer. That's good.
By June 30th.
So we're hoping it is soon, so that over the summer we can plan and get all of these pieces. And we have the pieces, now we just need the people to put into them, so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We also are looking to improve our parent involvement, and as you said, Mrs. Ennis, they are the parents. You saw our auditorium last Wednesday night. It was packed with the parents of our inductees. We had 27 children from our 7th grade being inducted, and our auditorium was full. So certainly, there is a link between children who are successful and parent support of those children. To fill the auditorium, we have 500 seats for 27 children, I think was quite impressive. And remember, now our 27 inductees were sitting up on the stage with us, so they weren't even out there to take those seats. So there certainly is a link. We also are looking to have coffee with the principal. Even though I'm not a coffee drinker, I will somehow find something that will. Tea is good, water is always good, salsa, whatever. We are looking to do that, and we were thinking to use the robocall. However, it's certainly worth it, try to give some more personalized, targeted phone calls to parents that we really need to see.
Right.
And I think it's very telling that when we have our first parent conferences in the fall after the first marking period, our 5th grade teachers do assign a time so that they're not sitting waiting for long periods of time and not getting in to see a teacher after sitting there. So certainly that is a consideration if we get them all to show up in 5th grade to keep building on that relationship with parents. I think there are parents who believe, well, my child is doing fine, I don't have to go to school, but we like to see those parents too. We like to see them all so that we can share with them the task of educating their child and also raising their children to be good citizens. We play a very large role in that. 6 hours of their day, 6.5 hours of their time that they're awake, they're with us. And so we would like to have that. One of the pieces that we have encouraged very, very strenuously is to get parents to use iParent. And so we have looked to maybe including some tutorial sessions if we get them at I Know Your School night or the first conference night. If we could have some training set up to get them logged on, to get them in the event that there are still parents that don't have a username and password, haven't joined a class, aren't checking the teacher pages or the grade book to see how their children are doing, to just reach out one more time to get them to participate in that. And that does work. There are a lot of parents who have signed on and who do check their children's progress, and, they do contact teachers, what's the project that he didn't do, and, get me the information, I'll be working with them over the weekend on it. So there are parents who are accessing through that, so that has been very helpful, but we need more of them to do that. And so if we could have some training and reach out to them yet one more time on that to try and increase the number of people who access that. We do encourage our teachers, and tremendous numbers of them make many phone calls each evening to parents. And a lot of times we encourage them at the beginning of the school year to make phone calls home so that you build a positive relationship with them. In the event that you need them for something that you can rely on, you've already got that relationship built. So we would like to continue all of those. Any of that information that we get, we certainly will share back with them. And we've tried it both ways. We have a parent orientation for our children coming in from grade 4, because it is a huge transition for our children, but I think sometimes it's even more frightening for our parents. And so we've tried both the end of the year, we've tried the beginning of the year, And it is usually pretty well attended. I think we did better at the end of the year, even with baseball and dance recitals and everything going on. We've gotten probably 60 or 70 parents from our incoming groups to talk about, we talk about our school, we give tours, we have Q&A, and refreshments after, so that they can see what it's like. This year, we did at the beginning of the year at the suggestion of parents, thought it might be better. But however, getting feedback from parents, they do prefer it in the spring than the fall. And we also have posted it online. We have a welcome packet that we've posted on our website, and we have asked Mr. Baroni also to share it at his level so that our parents coming into us have access in an environment they're still comfortable. And we probably will have to do a fall one as well, because we didn't do a fall one. So next year, we'll probably have to do fall and a spring so that we get everybody. And there is a Q&A page, and there is kind of a welcome introducing our staff and who we all are and what we're about. And there are some pictures and kind of interesting. We've done it as a PowerPoint, but now we've posted it online as well. We have encouraged our staff, and that is a big piece of our improvement plan for next year, to continue to broker those relationships with parents, to continue to post in a timely fashion grades, projects, and whatever, so that parents can access. If we're asking them to log on and access Gradebook, then we truly want something to be there for them to see. So as soon as you can give a test and get it corrected, get it posted as quickly as you can. Parents will lose interest and get caught up with other things if they're waiting for 3 weeks or longer to get something. So we've encouraged them to get them posted probably within the week, and get them up as fast as you can and change them and make sure that everything is current. And there is also a place within iParent for parents to provide a username and email, so that we could conceivably look to emailing parents instantly as you're posting something into iParent, to let parents know right away that something new has been posted. And if we are to go with a district Facebook page, they would immediately get that alert that something new has been posted. So as much as we keep loading stuff onto our website, I guess it's not as easy to use as Facebook. However, I must be one of the only people in this room who doesn't have a Facebook account, so I don't really know how that works. But I'm told that if you like us on Facebook, you'll get an instant update when something happens. So willing to try that if that will get parents to buy in. We are more than happy to give that a try as well. And I was not here to enjoy supper with the superintendent, so I can't comment on the preparation, the cooking, the delivery, the service, or whatever. But I do know that the numbers were a little bit disappointing. And so we would like to work to improve those numbers for next year. And it is the first time, so maybe,
Right.
The people at DSAC told us not to be too discouraged that our numbers were low, so.
They'll get better. Anything from the Mrs.
Just a
Ravelli?
few questions.
Wayne's man.
We're into the same goal. It says solicit feedback from parents and the community. So are you then looking at the iParent and that
We are-
through there, or?
No, we're looking to do something through SurveyMonkey, and then to collate that information.
It's a
when we get-
very easy thing to use, if you've never used it before. It's very quick and easy to create surveys to find out whatever you want to find out.
And also easy to get that information back,
Yes.
is my understanding, so.
Very easy. Very inexpensive as well.
Yes.
I didn't see anywhere here for opportunities for parent volunteers. I see a great deal, or did I miss it? I see a great deal about, getting them to come in, having some more input or communication with teachers, but opportunities for volunteering at the middle school?
We do have FOMS, which is Friends of the Middle School. And we do have volunteers that work in the store. We had Spree Day today, we had parent volunteers. We usually are pretty successful getting parents to volunteer for chaperoning a field trip. We have, for a few different dances, depending on what the group is that was running it, we have used parents to help us chaperone as well. I guess that would probably be it. The school store,
But there's
Farms.
not an ongoing, like, for instance, at the elementary school, I think there are parents that are running the library at this time.
No, we have a librarian.
There are people that, parents that come in just to read to certain groups. I'm just wondering, something like that that's ongoing and not just,
The only ongoing one, I think, would be the store. They run the school store, which then supported the activity today. The magazine drive in the beginning of the year, that's about 3 weeks of very intensive work for them. They're more targeted assistance type of events where the board from FOMS will send out soliciting assistance, and through their monthly meeting, they get volunteers. We have been pretty fortunate with our PTO. However, I believe it's at the end of next year at this time, some of the parents their children are graduating, so they won't be with us. And they are a little bit concerned that unless we kind of drum up some more support, that we could be in a similar situation to the Booster Club at the high school. So that's something that we have to tackle right away when we start the school year, either through our personal contact, maybe through Know Your School Night, through the parent conferences, any of the well-attended events that we have, like our concerts, our recitals, the musical, any of those that are really heavily attended, to see if we can't extend that invitation to them to really participate and support so that events like this can continue. Our musical, we rely very heavily on parent support and volunteers for making costumes, helping to staff backstage with us. It's dress rehearsal and 3 performances, and also the cast party. So that's a big piece for them. The National Honor Society, they were very helpful in putting all of that together, and the reception. So
Yeah, I just know from my experiences in working in schools, currently, we have 2 or 3 parents that come in on a regular basis, and they're there to help and assist the teachers, whether that be to make copies or read to certain groups and assist in that, or whatever. But they're there, and we pretty much count on them to be there each week. And right now, we have a core group of maybe 4 or 5 parents in the middle school that come in every week for 3 or 4 hours and donate time, because they want to do that, and they want to know and understand the culture of the school that their children go to every day. And I think you get that when you're there every week, each week, or even every other week for a few hours, rather than, cooking for teachers on, the teacher week or whatever it is. You don't really get to see the culture of the school and feel a part of it, I guess
they're
is my
pretty
point,
much-
that's all. So, that's just something else to think about, we can all think about.
they are pretty much the same core group of parents that we
Yeah.
rely on for
Yeah.
just about everything.
It's the same in all the schools, yeah. All right, thank you very much.
She's on the last school.
And our final goal was to increase the safety and security, which we had also discussed in our handbook because we had changed a section of that. So the crisis team, which we have had in place for several years, will meet right away. Usually, if it's not the first or second day of school, it's within the first week of school. And certainly that will be ratcheted up their responsibilities and in light of what we have experienced in Newtown. Certainly do not want anything like that ever to happen again, and to be as prepared as we can, and that our children are prepared and not frightened. We want them to be wise but not frightened. So, the drills that we have done this year, we have done with the assistance of the police and fire department, so that they are part of our safety plan as well. And we will continue to let children know until it becomes as commonplace for them as a fire drill.
Right.
And that will take several years. So they will continue to know ahead of time, not to frighten them, not for any alarm to go off they're not expecting. Because they are in middle school, they are still, especially our 5th and 6th graders, are very young. They're very young. And even our 7th and 8th graders, we certainly would not want to frighten them beyond the point that they could sleep or have nightmares or what. So that the teachers then, which they already do with the fire drills within the opening days of school, we usually have a fire drill within the first week. We will probably also have evacuation and security lockdown drills as well. So teachers will have to go over that procedure and protocol with them and kind of reassure them, especially the younger ones and for the first time. And that we would also then be conducting surveys to see how we're doing, again, through SurveyMonkey, and get feedback from our parents. And hopefully we would have a pretty decent response, because SurveyMonkey is pretty easy to use and can use it at their own time schedule and feel that their voice is being heard as well. And we are offering, again, I believe it's the 2 days professional development right when school closes, applied nonviolence, A&V training. And so that is kind of de-escalation tactics and teaching staff how to do that. So we do have that listed in our PD brochure so that our teachers will take the opportunity if that is something that they're interested in or something that their job would certainly benefit from them having that training. And ongoing, we are working with the bullying prevention as members of the committee with you, Mrs. Ennis. We feel very passionately about that, and quite pleased to report that each year that we have educated our children on what bullying is, what it constitutes, that our numbers have decreased each year.
Good news.
So, while we can't say there are 0 cases.
No, I
We
know.
certainly have decreased from what we had prior to the document going into
Excellent,
effect.
very good. Mrs. Ravelli?
How many teachers do you have trained currently on the nonviolent restraint?
Currently, I believe 1. We need to do research, and some of them have left or gone elsewhere, or did not recertify, so we do need to have more trained. And we will target specific teachers where their particular role would require their knowledge of that.
And through the chair to the superintendent, if I
Go ahead,
may.
yeah.
Do we have anybody in the district that's trained to do that, or do we have to call in?
We do have 3 staff members who are trained
Trained as trainers?
as trainers. We are also going to
And we
offer
still
it.
only have one at the middle school trained.
Some have left, some have, their certification has lapsed, which is why we are offering it
So how often
They're
do you
June.
have to recertify? Is that yearly?
yearly.
It's yearly.
Yeah. Which is why we're offering it at the end of the school year.
Thank you very much. All set? Motion to approve the improvement plan.
So moved. She moved. Second, sure.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. 3 affirmative, 1 absent, 1 abstention. Thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate that. Mr. Cannacchioli, come on up. This is the way it goes. No, because then we'll get out of here faster. How are
Good
you?
evening. Good. You?
Good, thanks.
Briefly, you all received a copy of the handbook. There are no changes, any major changes to it. All the changes were made last year, so handbook as is.
Good.
As far as presentation, it's my 2nd year doing it, so I'm not quite sure if I'm doing it exactly right, but I do just give some data. We've serviced 54 students this year, in and out, 12 middle school and 42 high school. Of that 54, we had 30 from out of district and 24 from in district. And again, that was in and out. You know, sometimes it's kind of the nature of the alternative business. You have some kids that stay, some kids that move on, et cetera. Of the 54, 40 were students on IEPs. Approximately 10 of those were from Oxford, and 14 regular ed, students, and all of them were from Oxford. 10 students graduated this year, 8 receiving high school diplomas, two which were Oxford students, and 2 receiving certificates of attainment, 1 which is an Oxford student. And if you just thumb through, it just talks about the MCAS testing that we've done this year. It just seems to always be coming, and obviously it's a smaller number for me to administer these tests, but we had a few students take the test throughout the course of the year. I did want to mention that 3 high school students returned to the high school this year from Project Coffee. One of them was probably functioning at the average level. I think Mr. Wells would attest to that. Another student was a little bit below the average, but maintaining, and the other student had to return to us. The school, it didn't work. So, of the 3, fairly decent success rate of getting students back to the traditional school. And if you just flip to the last page, just the goals and improvement plan for next year. And number 1 is just to continue to work with Trish Susan and the Oxford Special Ed to complete the state requirements to become a separate public day school. So her and I will be meeting this week and quite a bit over the summer to make sure we get all the necessary paperwork into the state so that we can be approved as a program. To continue to work and challenge our teachers to create classrooms of ongoing teaching and learning with a focus on MCAS. We're going to be aligned with the district's use of data and assessments. The goal is to get all the teachers trained, which most of mine are, on data warehouse, so that we can take that information and utilize it in our classrooms and analyze data to assist the teacher, class, and student improvement. Third improvement or goal that we're looking to do is continue to work with the Oxford Public School Middle, High School, and school-wide administration to assist with their challenging, disruptive or at-risk population. And, that will certainly be done through our weekly admin meetings and just continued communication and support with the school leaders, which has been very good since I've joined the district. Very good to work with, very easy to work with. And 4th, just to continue our out-of-district and community outreach to improve out-of-district tuition numbers and awareness as to what we can offer students at Coffee. So I'm going to continue to meet with special ed directors from out-of-district, hopefully on a much more regular basis than I had last year. That's certainly, and that has started to happen towards the end of the year here. But I want to continue that. Start to engage the regular education population that's out there, starting to get some good feedback from other districts that actually do send regular education kids out to alternative programs and are paying a pretty hefty tuition for it. So I'm hoping to start to engage some of those districts and maybe work with them on a tuition that might benefit them and obviously benefit us in the long run as well. And just to continue to promote the positives that we have to offer. I certainly, again, I was here last week, and again, I will thank the committee and I'll thank the administration for, showing the support and the confidence in Project Coffee. Now it's our job, my job as the leader, but also to instill in my staff and continue to ask the district for support. But we got to get out there and really do our job this year and get numbers back to hopefully where they were back in the good old days when things were going really well. One thing I did want to mention to your point, Mrs. Ennis, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, somebody who's dealt with the at-risk population and parent population, so to speak, for my whole career, direct communication with them is key. These parents have been they've heard the negative for so long that they're just so disinterested anytime they get any communication from the school. And if you can really personalize it and let them know that you're here to work with them and not against them, and to really personalize it, it's huge. I mean, I could pull out my iPhone right now, and I have 8 parents on text messaging, and that's the way I get a hold of them. And the relationships we've formed on that, it's incredible. And you can see the changes that you can make with the children when you create that positive relationship. And I agree with you. I think, obviously in my business, it's a much smaller number, but our number is all pretty much at risk. So to have that personalized conversations and those personalized text messages, it goes a long way. So that it was a very, very well brought up point, and I think it can make a difference. And like you said, if you know, for me, if, in the alternative business, if you reach a certain percentage of your population, you know you're not gonna get them all.
Right.
But if you can reach 1 or 2 more every year, you definitely can see the changes. So I just wanted to share that comment.
Mrs. Ravelli?
What is the maximum number of students that you could service at this point with the number of personnel that you have?
Right, I mean, we could service up to 70,
70.
you know.
And is there a certain percentage, do we try to keep the percentage, you know, I don't know how I want to ask this question. Is there a certain percentage of Oxford versus outside of district? Is there a limited number, I guess, for Oxford students that we
No,
kind of keep
good
aside?
question.
Or
I would say, you know, prior to my taking over as the director, I think there was an informal number that was in place. I've been open to expanding on that number, if seats are.
what is the informal number?
I think it was around 10, I think was what was established over the years. I mean, that's just from what I don't have 100% knowledge of that, but looking back, I think that was kind of how it was. And, you know, I'm of the belief of helping kids. So, you know, if it's in our own home, and we have seats, I'm certainly open to helping. And, you know, that's kind of what we've done this year,
Okay, so this year we have 24 students
that have been in and out.
in and
You know,
out.
not 24 all at once, but
Right.
24 that have been serviced over the course of the year.
Is that all I had? I think that's all I had.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I had on that.
Anything else from the committee? Like to entertain a motion to accept the improvement plan for Project Coffee.
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
4 affirmative, 1 absent. Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
report. We appreciate your hard work also. Okay. Does anybody want to take a breather?
Absolutely.
2 minutes? 3 minutes? We're going to recess for a few minutes. Going to go out of order just for a moment, and we're going to congratulate our student representative, Ben Murray, on his award of Eagle Scout that he kept a secret from us, which was great. That's very good news, Ben, and I am going to let you give the report tonight so you can head home.
All right, thank you.
Can we give him a round of applause for that?
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Well done. Stand up for you, Ben. Good job. Whenever there's good news, I like to be the first to know, and I was the last. So, all right. Sir, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. So last week on Thursday, the sophomore and junior classes had a joint class trip to Lake Compounce, which was a lot of fun. On Friday, there were the 8th grade tours in which the 8th graders this year, our incoming freshman class next year, come and receive tours of the high school so that they can see kind of what they're in for and get to know the building for the upcoming year. Today, this morning, was our Student Council Awards breakfast. So all of the graduated seniors came back and we gave out a lot of awards and got breakfast cooked by the teachers for us, which was very nice. Beginning on Wednesday this week and continuing through until next Monday are our finals, with Tuesday being the last day of school. So there's some excitement around about that. And on Saturday, our school is sending a contingent of 3 boys to Boys State and 2 girls to Girls State, which is a almost summer camp. It's a week-long program in which select students go to a mock government and get to run for positions to just get a new leadership perspective.
Very good. Very good report. Thank you, sir, very much. Have a good evening. You can go home and relax.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, very much. Congratulations again. Okay, back onto the agenda. Mr. Himmelberger, the district improvement plan.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ennis. Included in your packet is the 2013-2015 Accelerated District Improvement Plan. This plan is a direct result of our work with the District and School Assistance Center team for Central Massachusetts. Because of our Level 3 status, we have been heavily involved with them, as all Level 3 districts are, and they have provided, as you heard earlier, a lot of direction and support for us, both in terms of improving our practice, as well as moving our curriculum mapping forward. And so we spent an awful lot of time with them over the last 6 weeks, 4 3-hour meetings, and went through a problem statement and then identified 3 objectives, under which each objective are 3 initiatives. And then there are activities to support each one of those initiatives. And there is a common theme, as you will see, by some of the school improvement plans, that all of this goes to improving our student outcomes. The first objective, cultivate a shared responsibility for the academic, social, and emotional achievement and success of all students. And you can see the three main initiatives that fall under that. Continuing to develop the cohesive curriculum map to increase family engagement and community support, and to develop the organizational and resource charts to ensure the proper approach or program is being used to meet the needs of each student. Page 2, the second objective is to establish continuity amongst district-wide programs, services, protocols, and processes to ensure maximum effectiveness and efficiencies of our educational delivery. The first initiative is to review and identify and document the continuum of services and to deliver them with fidelity from building to building. The second is to explore the implementation, and we are actually going to do the implementation of the Massachusetts Tiered System of Support, the MTSS, for which you heard that we did apply for the grant for that program. And then to continue to provide meaningful professional development to all staff and faculty to allow them to implement best practices. And I will thank the committee for their support on that calendar to give us those half-days, which I think are very, very well received. The third objective on the last page, to expand the dissemination and effective use of data to solve problems of practice, to increase our student growth, and to create a culture of accountability. And thanks to the work of Mr. Trahan, we have really come a long way in the last couple of years in terms of our use of data. And as you can see, we want to increase teacher access to and the use of data. We want to roll out our district-wide data team for each building so that all staff will understand where to locate and how to interpret the data, and to continue to utilize the educator evaluation system to ensure that district-wide initiatives are being implemented with integrity. And these 3 objectives came with the guidance and analysis and proofing and editing with the DSAC team, and we feel that this will give us the results that we need and to continue the work that we have built on at the end of last year and throughout this year. So this will be presented with the committee's blessing to all staff so that we all share in this, and it is not just the responsibility of a few, but that we can share that responsibility across for all students.
Very good. Any questions, Mrs. Rovelli?
Objective 2, activities creating a parent guide, procedural handbook, and for administration and for faculty and staff, outlining responsibilities, et cetera. So then, it's my understanding, we don't have procedures and handbooks regarding,
We have parts of this and we have pieces of it, but it needs to be cohesively put together to address the current environment. And obviously, one of the concerns from the CDSA accountability visit was to make sure that we have a district-wide understanding of processes. And I think that that is something that we have to move away from the decentralizing of each building, which was the natural progression in years past, to maintain a common listing of what we expect everyone to adhere to. And so we are going to review that and make sure that it is put together for all to understand.
So what are, just give me some examples, what are some of the procedural, the handbooks, so what would be in that
Well,
procedure?
one of them would be, for instance, hiring procedures and protocol.
They're not the same?
We do not have a common standard so that we make sure we ensure that we hire the same teacher, that we have the same qualifications and the same standards. Now, in some cases, they are fairly close, but in other cases, they are not. And so the goal of this is to wrap that together so that there is commonality across the district.
So then my understanding is the parent guide is completed.
We will have that completed by September 1st.
Right, well, it's nearly completed.
Right.
Okay.
Again, a lot of this, as you can see from what we have discussed tonight, much of where we are headed is going to rely upon parent and community support. And, we have seen, well, we saw it firsthand May 8th at town meeting. Mr. Coonan made a motion. And we need for everyone in this town to understand what's at stake and for people to vote to support a school district that can achieve. And a big piece of that, which is also dictated by the educator evaluation system, is parent and community support. And I think the committee's points were well taken by all of us this evening, that personal outreach hopefully goes a long way towards moving the needle.
Anything else?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mrs. Walker?
it is quite obvious to me that we are on course for win-win. It's going to take us a while to get there, and there's a lot of paperwork that has to be done first, and that takes a lot of time and effort on the part of some dedicated people, and I sure do appreciate that.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker, very much. We appreciate your comment. Anything else in regard to our goals, improvements, I'm sorry?
Well, all right, so I have one other comment.
Okay.
My only other comment is, it looks like we have a fair, we have people from all over the district, with the exception of the middle school and the high school. Is there a reason for that? It just
The
seems
name
like
that
we
you
had-
see next to the initiative, is
Okay.
that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. What we did, and this again was the DSAC's guidance, was pick one person who will be responsible for collating and following up.
Okay.
All of us will be working on all of these. So I didn't want to give the impression that some people got less work to do. It is a team effort, and we went through this at our last DSAC meeting last week, and believe it or not, these names freely volunteered and raised their hand in a group setting. So we will certainly address it one more time to make sure, but it's really just to collect, to make sure that we're on track, to make sure that we analyze and evaluate where we are.
Well, yeah, somebody needs to know
Yeah, but
where we're at.
everybody will have a share in all of this. This is a lot of work. We've begun a lot of different initiatives. To Mrs. Walker's point, sometimes the pace is slow, but we are moving in the right direction. We just have to maintain the focus and keep moving.
But I'm assuming with this, like we'll say, just the initiative here to develop data teams, create them at each building. I'm assuming that there's somebody at each building that is responsible for that,
Yes,
and that Mr. Baroni would know who that person is.
yes,
Okay.
yes. And again, a lot of it is where people have interests or strengths.
Yeah.
You know, Norm, Mr. Yvonne, is very well-versed in the Ed-Eval system, and he really wanted to you know, be involved in that. Mr. Baroni has been instrumental in creating the district-wide data, in helping to move that data team forward. He wanted to be a part of that, and from that. But it's all of us working together to be able to meet the accountability here. This is a lot of work, but it's good work.
Very good, thank you very much. And you will keep us apprised of as things kind of progress? And let
Yes,
us
I
know-
will.
And let us know how things are going. All right,
I'm sure the committee will know as soon as we do about the accountability status at the end of August.
yes,
That's the next big one.
definitely, yep. Next on the agenda is our safety update. You continue to have the floor.
Thank you very much,
Berger.
Mrs. Ennis. We are in the process of going on record with the town through our capital plan, which was $151,000 to requested to improve the security and safety in all of our buildings. We have accelerated what we can do, and I want to say with tremendous cooperation from our public safety officials and our fire and police, providing expertise and working with us. While and I think I might have shared this with the committee from the meeting that we've been attending statewide. The goal is to minimize the risks. In order to do that, that amount of money is necessary to provide a level of safety and security that is the standard by which new buildings are being built. As you heard from Mr. Milner and Mrs. Hackett, it's only as good as the training that we have for the staff. It's only as good as the input we have from public safety officials. It's only as good as the communication that we have across the district. We're in the process of upgrading our radio capabilities to be able to match the range to reach first responders. We have secure buildings now, but we need to upgrade exterior and interior camera capabilities, and that is part of the amount that we have requested for the capital improvement. But I give credit to Mr. Matthew for squeezing every penny so that we can get the radios upgraded, and that should be accomplished over the summer so that we are ready in the fall. We will continue to work with public safety to review our protocols and procedures. And I think that, you know, to the point about all calls, you know, with the first one that we did, the first set of exercises and drills that we did back after Newtown, we did send home all calls as the buildings were doing them.
Right.
But I think now as we move forward, the goal is to certainly get staff and students comfortable with what is expected, and to that end, we are making sure that everyone knows at the beginning of the day, it's a drill, and to have that same comfort of what to do and where to go in all scenarios, just as with fire drills. And so that's where we are going to be. But as we just saw last weekend out in California,
Right.
you know, you have to make sure that you do everything you can to make sure that everybody knows their role and understands what to do, and continually review it so that you are comfortable with, that you're following the most recent guidelines, and that's the goal, and that's where we will be. Obviously, the next step is that town meeting in the fall,
Yeah.
to see if we can get that,
We'll be ready for the town meeting in the fall, I guarantee.
that amount approved for the capital.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
that. I do have some correspondence. I'm only going to address one. This was addressed to Mr. Coonan. I didn't know it until I opened it. It was because you were the chair at the time, so I'm just going to briefly, I'm going to make a copy of this to give to everyone, but it is a letter from Jim McGovern. He represents the 2nd District here in Massachusetts, and he was responding to our letter regarding the safety measures and the legislation we asked to be supported. Basically, what he's saying here is thank you, he supports it, and his efforts are continuing to do all he can to put together a proper law for gun safety. He gives us a lot of information to read, which is excellent in regard to what actually Congress is doing, so I think this will be a good read. And I'll make a copy, like I said, for everyone, but I wanted you all to know that that came from Mr. McGovern's office. That's all I have for that. I do have correspondence, but because of the late hour, I am going to save it for our next meeting on the 24th. Real quick, in regard to our subcommittees, I'm going to send everyone an email. Please let me know what subcommittee you either want to stay on or go to, so I can properly assign those groups. The other side of that, in regard to town meeting for October, we are putting together a Parents for Education. I'm not sure if it's going to be a subcommittee or a forum or how we're going to title it, but I've got about 20 names so far. If anyone has any more names, please email them to me with their contact information so that I can let them know when our first meeting will be, which will be probably in July, depending on vacations, or August. I've gotten teachers. I have Mr. Carnacchioli who wants to get involved. I have quite a few. It's quite a varied amount of people, which is good. It's not all just parents, but I think it will stand up to something, because what this group is going to do is educate the public of what goes on in these buildings. And that's all I have for tonight because of the late hour. So I will let you continue on, Mr. Superintendent, if you have anything else for us tonight.
I just have one more point to share with the committee. We have made a decision as a district to move forward with a new math curriculum for our K-6 math program. And we are going to use Envision by Pearson. There are a couple of reasons that this was out of all of the programs that we looked at. Pearson is the company that is going to put together the standards for the park assessments. And the park assessments will, at some point, replace MCAS, although it's not sure when that's going to happen. But there is a lot of momentum at the state level. Many districts have done the same thing we did and have looked at multiple math programs and have all moved to Envision for their K-6 math. Dudley Charlton just went through the same exercise. And Mrs. Daly has done a terrific job of managing the pilots and looking at the programs. And so we are very excited as a district to have an updated curriculum for our math that will be easier for teachers to teach, hopefully easier for students to learn, and with the goal of providing the necessary outcomes that we are looking for.
Is there any information you could forward to the committee?
Certainly.
That'd be great.
And just, because I think I'm anticipating Mrs. Ravelli's question.
I'm just waiting till you're done. I'm
We are
using my finger up.
going to get the materials to the teachers the week after school ends.
Oh, great.
The week that school ends,
Okay.
that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we will schedule 2 professional development days over the summer. We have grant money to stipend folks to get this accomplished. And there are many other districts that are doing the same move at the same time. And hopefully there can be some study groups back and forth amongst the districts that are doing it. The ones that have implemented over the last year have found it to be very, very accepted. And I look forward to a fresh start.
I think everyone does.
And hopefully some immediate results. And, while we're never going to placate or appease or make every single person happy, we feel very confident with the input that we've gotten and with the support that we know we get from Pearson that this will be a successful move.
Good. Thank you very much. Mrs. Ravelli?
The 2 professional development days, are those 2 days that people need to attend in?
Over the summer.
But is that 2 days that they are required to, or is it a one-day training
It's a
that we're
one-day-
giving it twice?
It's a one-day training that we'll give twice. Is that correct, Mrs. Daly? Yes, it's a one-day training, Mrs. Ravelli, and we will offer it twice to accommodate the folks that need
And
it.
we're going to be able to hit all of the staff that need to be?
Yes.
In K through
K through six.
6, right?
Yep.
And how many people do we currently employ in K through 6?
About
What's our ballpark? What's the
35.
ballpark?
We're estimating 45 people for the trainings.
Okay, so 45 for each training?
45
No,
in
it's
district
total
and
that will
training
need the
between
Oh,
the 2
okay.
sessions.
All
Small
right.
district.
And they think it's only one training is enough?
Yes, once the teachers get their hands on the materials, we also have a teacher or 2 that will probably be the go-to person within the district that will assist Mrs. Daly, and certainly within the cohort, be able to provide some immediate help for folks that do have questions.
Great.
And was this the program that was presented? I guess I wanted to ask there. Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much. Anything
That
else?
is my report for this evening.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Matthew?
Well, the committee has my budget memo. We will be bringing forward a detailed budget, much as the first budget book that you guys received. We'll bring you new inserts for the 24th, and you'll be able to see the details that are talked about in here in generalities.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, school committee members. Mrs. Ravelli, do you have anything this evening?
Just congratulations to the retirees. How's that? Very nice
Super.
and quick.
Excellent. Good for you. Mrs. Walker?
I can say ditto to what she said.
There you go, brief.
But I have a question that I noted on my paperwork here. And I don't know the answer, but maybe someone out there does. Can we apply for a grant from the Janet Malzer Trust Fund, which is only available to Oxford, Webster, and Dudley? There's a lot of money there, I know, because our church got a big grant, and it's getting painted that way, and other improvements. And there's a lot of it going around in Oxford and in the other communities. I don't know if schools are excluded.
No, they're not, because we did apply for a couple of grants through that trust and have received them.
Oh,
So,
very good.
yes.
Because I think if the information that's in Richard's memo is not accomplishable, I realize they only do it once a year,
Mhm.
but I don't see any harm in preparing for it and planting the seeds. You could get a good chunk of money that way for what you need.
Yes, we have had, we have been able to take advantage of some of those grant opportunities.
Well, very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Excellent, good. Thank you, Mrs. Walker, very good, thank you. Mr. Coonan?
Nothing further this evening.
Dan has had it. I think we all have.
I think we have it, yeah.
I think we all have. I just have a couple quick things for, just so everyone knows, for July. I am going to post 2 meetings. We will only have them if business comes before this committee. Otherwise, we won't meet again until August. And it would have to be considerable business, so hopefully happy July off, which is what we try to do. I think it's very rare we have to call a meeting in July. So that helps, I know, Mr. Coonan. I think it helps all of us. And one reminder, if you're going to go to the conference, November 6, 7, 8, 9, please get in touch with Melissa. Early registration, we get $125, I think it is, discount for that.
When is the conference?
November 6,
November.
7, 8, 9.
November 6th.
She just needs to know so she can put together the meal plan, the hotel, and all
We
of that.
haven't enjoyed the warm weather yet.
Okay. And that's it for
Open the
this evening.
floor? You gonna
I
open
will
the floor?
open the floor now. Please come on up. You waited all this time, God love you.
I know you like parents.
We do, we love parents.
Hi, my name is Richard Fortier, and I've been a parent in Oxford for 4 school years now. Have extensive parenting experience. We've, raised lots of kids, foster kids, adopted kids. And I have a couple questions on what I saw tonight and what I heard, just to try to see if I can help things out a little bit. The math curriculum that you're going to, is it more rigorous than what you have now for the 1st through 6th grade?
Let the superintendent handle that.
Or is it weaker?
I would defer to Mrs. Daly, but the information that I have received, Mr. Fortier, is that it is more rigorous and more aligned to our goals, which is the reason why so many districts have moved to it, along with the fact that this company, which has a very strong reputation, is also designing the college and career readiness assessments.
Right.
So I hope for that linkage, both in terms of rigor as well as for outcome,
Right.
to be
And that's good. I don't
what
have
we
any
have.
1st to 6th graders. And since you mentioned college rigor, you're talking about doing surveys and trying to get some input. Have you surveyed the local community colleges and colleges that students go to from Oxford to see how the students are prepared compared to other students from other communities?
We did do a survey, I'm gonna say it was maybe 6 years now that we did it, and we got very, very, very small response.
Do you think it'd be something that'd be worthwhile to do every year?
It is, and we can definitely discuss that and take a look at it,
Right.
yeah.
And, you talked a lot about trying to engage parents. I
Mhm.
didn't see too many parents in the crowd tonight. There were people here to celebrate the retirees and to, present their information as far as, from their booster club or whatever. And, from working many, many years in different school systems with my own kids and foster kids, some are very difficult and some are, challenging. We've had everything from a valedictorian in our house to dropouts in our house, so we've seen it all. And the most involved parents are the ones that are invited in, and I agree with you that they need to be invited in, but they also need to be followed up on. One of the reasons I'm here tonight is I presented some questions to the school committee in the fall, and I have really not gotten a response for my questions. And, the simple cell phone policy or electronic use policy that was in the middle school has led to the digital conversion, which is moving along well, but it doesn't help the immediate problem where teachers in the middle school are looking at kids' pockets, trying to see if they have a cell phone or an iPad or an iPod in their pocket, and then confronting them on it, whether they're using it or not. And it's really a draconian type of behavior. that kind of alienates the students and the parents, because students are getting in trouble for just having a phone in their pocket. And my simple request was to try to change that policy to make it a little bit more inviting for students. And that did not happen. You know, tonight the middle school presented their new student handbook without that change in it. You know, and we've attended a few of the digital conversion meetings, and we weren't able to come to the question and answer because my daughter was going to an elite hockey tryout, which she did make the team. And she hates coming to Oxford schools. Unbelievably hates it. And it's really a shame to have that. And we as a family are leaving the Oxford school system. We're choosing to go someplace else. We're not moving out of the community, but we're choosing to go someplace else. And, you know, it would be nice to be more inviting and be nice to be more engaged. And it's a real difficult thing to do. I mean, I've been into school systems where it was mandatory for parents, if your child was in band, that you had to attend a parent at the beginning of the band meeting. You had to be there and sign that you attended the meeting. You had to be at sports booster events. If your child was on a sporting team, whether it's a hockey team or a football team, you're required to do so many hours. And, you know, that requirement is tough, but it does get you to know other parents and know the teachers well and to get involved. And requiring parents to be involved is something that is basic. But when parents go to the schools and they ask for help with a struggling child, and the school says they're going to give help, and then they don't give the help, it's really, really disappointing. And it causes families to leave. And I really would like the school committee to try to address some of the things. And I have some things I need to talk to Mr. Himmelberger off the record, because they are kind of sensitive. And I would like to see if we can make some changes. And I'll be back again in the fall looking for the answers to my questions that I asked last fall. Even though we're not going to be in the school district, our kids are going elsewhere, I will still be here to try to help and make things change, and make things better.
Okay, thank you very much.
Dennis, may I, through you, address the gentleman? 'Cause he asked
Certainly,
a couple
yes.
questions on where we stood. The cell phone policy, and I told you from the first
Yeah.
night when you came through, that's a school-based decision.
Yes.
As a district, we're looking at how we can incorporate that technology, the very technology you came and said, yes, we want to use the technology.
Yes.
We just can't open a door and say, okay, now pull out your cell phones. We're going through step by step and making small changes to get to a policy that's going to work on a broader base.
Right.
And it went from bring your own device now to a digital conversion. And,
Yes.
and if we went to, I don't know if you were at the session when Northbridge came in and Grafton or Roxbridge, we had different schools that came in.
Right.
They had a great advantage. They had a, I think it's called the FF&E budget when they build a new school, that there's money allocated for that. We're going from scratch. So
Right.
now we're looking for a funding source or a way to pilot this program so we can build it in small steps, be it at the fifth grade level, be it at the second grade level, where it starts. So that's going from this, in this committee, and that's policy.
Right.
What you're talking now is school operations.
Correct, yes.
School operations is something more that yourself and Mrs. Hack and Mr. Milner on how they run their school in the handbook.
Right.
We looked at the handbook and they said, this is how they want to run their school. That's not a school committee policy. So there is, your concerns were heard on that one. The
Right.
second piece that you brought through was, I believe, about homeschooling. I looked at that, we looked at that policy, and we thought our policy was very good.
Right.
Our policy was structured enough, it wasn't rigid where you get stuck, and there was room for interpretation. And so those were the issues that were addressed, and we said there was really no need to go further with that. Maybe you have some questions about that, but as a committee, or as a subcommittee, I looked at that and said, that's okay. But we are running with that digital conversion piece, so that is not
Right.
going away. It's going to be there. It's going to take a little bit of time, and more importantly, money, that we're
Right.
making upgrades to our system. Mr. Trahan's been working with Charter Communications and upgrading lines, getting capabilities so when we go wireless, so we can build off our cloud.
Right.
There's nothing out there right now. We have some capability, but he's doing everything he can from the infrastructure side to make it successful when it's gonna happen. Because right now, you say, okay, bring your tablets, go ahead. The wireless in here will get blown out in a second because there's not enough connectivity. So
Right.
we are
And I
making strides with
understand
that.
that. And I was just hoping for some small baby steps in the process, because it may take a while to build that infrastructure.
It is.
But what we saw when we came to the middle school was a draconian type of behavior where the teachers are looking at kids' pockets, saying, "You have a cell phone in your pocket? Come to the office." It makes adversarial right away when the child hasn't done anything wrong. And then you force the parent to come in and pick that phone up at the end of the day?
That's a
You know,
school culture, that's a school.
It's culture,
it's
yes.
a cultural issue, and
It's a culture,
amazing
and I think it's a
cultural issue.
problem.
But I believe in the handbook, it says electronic devices to be stored in the locker, and we give them a
Right.
lock, and that's the safe and secure place. So there's no temptation, there's no reason to have the child phone out there. None that I can think of, none that Mrs. Hackett and Mr. Milner have brought to our attention and said, hey, I gotta change this policy. It works from their side.
Right.
Teachers are gonna look at it, and they are asked to support the administration. Those are the rules. Well, Mrs. Ennis, I'm a school teacher myself. Well, I was in Mrs. Ennis's class. She didn't say anything because I had my phone hanging on my back pocket. Mr. Ravelli didn't say anything. How come you're calling me on it? That's where the teachers have to be united. is
Right,
there,
and consistent,
And that's
yes.
her, and that's their building on how they want it to see run. So if there's more issues with that, it really belongs with Mrs. Hackett and Mr. Milner. From this side, we're looking at policies to try to help that out.
Right. And then the other question I asked was, is it the school committee's policy to send middle schoolers home in the middle of the day if they have a discipline problem and make them walk home when they take the bus? And I
Yeah.
haven't heard the answer to that one either.
No, and again, that comes from the principals making every effort to contact the parent on the administration of their school.
Right.
And again, it's an administrative side that, to have a blanket policy where a parent may be called and said, yeah, just let them walk home. Okay, was a parent notified? Were the notifications? And again, there's discretion within the middle school on how they look at their policy, because you have a big range in ages. You may have a 9-year-old to a 14-year-old.
Yes, exactly. And that was a big concern of mine.
Yes, it
That,
is.
you know, that they would be sending kids home in the middle of the day. And with all the safety concerns and the predators out there and the problems that are in the communities, you know, the school committee, the school district is taking on a huge risk when they send a 10-year-old back home to walk 2 miles that normally takes the bus. I had concerns with that.
Mhm.
You know, and great concerns. So, you know, not just for my children, for any child.
No, I have concerns for my children as well, and my understanding of the policy is that the parent is contacted. If the parent's not contacted, the student sits in the nurse's office. It sits in a safe, secure place till the parent is notified and they hear the intention of what the parent wants to do with their child. But some parents may say, well, I'm busy, I'm working, I can't get there. And these are conversations when I sat on on school council, and we talked about these things. I said, well, if the parent says, let them walk, we let them walk, because that's a parent.
But what if a parent says, don't let them walk, and then they make them walk? What is that? What line does that cross?
I think that crosses the line. I've never heard of an instance like that. If there is one, well, then maybe we have to have a conversation about that, but.
And I will have that conversation with Mr. Himmelberger then, because that
No
line
problems.
was crossed.
Thank you.
You know, and I'm a parent that's concerned. I would like to be involved, you know, and I've been involved for many, many years with many children. And, you know, it's just disheartening to leave a school system like this, you know, to take on a financial burden and to go someplace else to educate our children, because I don't believe Oxford is doing a good job. You know, and I think Oxford could be very good at what, you know, educating kids, but it's really hard. We came from a different district, and, you know, we've been here 4 years, and, you know, our kids were testing very high when they came into the school district, and now one of them's close to failing. You know, and luckily we've been able to get them in a good school, and, you know, hopefully things will change. But it's very disheartening as a parent to see that happen.
Well, we thank you very much for coming forward, and please do have that conversation with Mr. Himmelberger.
And if anybody wants to contact me off the record, I'd be more than willing to talk to you,
Great.
each and every one of you, if you'd like to.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I do have a request for executive session. Let's see, it would be Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, subsection 2, and this is for the purpose of conducting strategy for negotiations with non-union personnel or bargaining. I will now clear the room, please. Thank you very much for staying. I'll take a roll, I need a motion. Motion to go into executive session, please.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
It's between you two. Thanks, Dan. You got. And I'll take a roll call vote, please. Mrs. Ravelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Coonan?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We are now in executive session.
You need to state that you're gonna come out.
And we will, no, we're not gonna come out. We're going to, we're
Come
going
out
to
to just
just adjourn. Yeah,
to adjourn.
yeah.